Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the special meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Tuesday, May 5th, 2020. The meeting was noticed for 10 a.m. The time is 10:17 a.m. Dr. Campos.
Yes, good morning. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer with the Board of Public Works. Roll call for today to establish quorum. We have Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner James at City Hall here present. We also have Commissioner Davis, Commissioner Garcia, and Commissioner Villegas that are dialing in remotely. Two of them from home and one of them from the office here at City Hall. We also are joined with our General Counsel, Mr. Ted Jordan, and myself. Mr. Ted Jordan is dialing in remotely, and myself here at City Hall. Mr. President, you do have a quorum at this time. We do have some public commentary that's in the queue. We have a series of 30 speakers. We also do not have any commentary at this time for the Neighborhood Council commentary. Items number 6 and 8, we did receive a series of emails that were distributed to all commissioners. In addition to that, we did receive 14 Google comments that came in this morning, or between yesterday and this morning. For item number 4, we have 12 commentaries on that, and then also on item number 3, we have 2 commentaries on the Google comments that were received through our website.
So first of all, everyone, this meeting, for many of you, it's probably the first time you participated with us in this virtual capacity that we're now doing these meetings in for the time being. They take a little longer, obviously. Each item takes a bit more time. So just rest in. Hope you're in a comfortable place because this meeting is going to take a while today. Let's go ahead and we do have our bids in, Dr. Campos, so let's go ahead and open our bids as we are required to do pursuant to notice. Agenda item, well, let me take care of number 1 first. Agenda item number 1 is simply the approval of our meeting minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, April 21, 2020. Anyone that would like to speak on an item, as we get to each item, I'm going to ask you if you want to speak on that item, please raise your hand by pressing star 9, and we'll call on you. Agenda item number 1 is simply the approval of meeting minutes from Tuesday, April 21, 2020. Dr. Campos, do you have any hands raised on number 1?
I do, Mr. President. Let me double check. I will go ahead and unmute the individual. Caller ending in 8353. Caller ending in 8353. We are on item number 1. Would you like to make public commentary on this item? Caller ending in 8353.
No, I just wasn't sure what was going on, so I will raise my hand later during the item I want to speak on.
Thank you. I will go ahead and lower your hand at this time. Mr. President, no other comments are in the queue for item number 1.
Okay, thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 1, seconded by Commissioner Caloza, Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Villegas, any objection to number 1?
None.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, any objection to number 1?
No objections.
All right, thank you. Without objection, number 1 will be adopted forthwith. Agenda item number 2, we have bids to be received this morning. 2 landscape maintenance of median island projects, one of them for North Central. The estimate is $775,000, and the second one is for West Valley, also $775,000. Dr. Campos, on agenda item number 2.
Thank you, Mr. President.
By the
Fernando
way,
Campos,
I'm sorry, Dr. Campos. Maybe you were going to do this, but I stepped on you. But do we have anybody in the queue that wants to raise their hand to speak on agenda item number 2, the opening of the bids this morning?
At this time, Mr. President, no one has raised their hand. Item number 2, if you'd like to make any commentary, last call, star 9 to raise your hand. Item number 2.
Okay,
Mr. President, no one has raised their hand for item number 2. We will go ahead and begin to open up the bids. Again, the first bid is for the landscape maintenance of medium islands at specific locations in North Central, estimated at $775,000 in council districts 1, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, and 14. We did receive 1 bid for this first project. The first bid and only bid is from Mariposa Landscapes Incorporated. For a total bid of $2,041,630.98. That is 2041 630.98 from Mariposa Landscapes Incorporated.
And is that on the northeast or west valley? I'm sorry, I missed that.
This is on the north central.
North central. Okay, got it. There is no northeast. North central.
North central.
Okay, thank you.
The one and only bid received for that project. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the first project. We will go ahead and open up bids for the second project. The second project is for the landscape maintenance of median islands at specific locations in the West Valley area. Council District 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 12, estimated at $775,000 even. We did receive 3 bids for this second project. The first bid is from Mariposa Landscapes Incorporated for a total bid amount of $2,426,085.74. That's 2426085.74 from Mariposa Landscapes Incorporated. The second bid is from Sani Group Incorporated, doing business as BMC Landscape Management, for a total bid amount of $2,399,571.36. That is 2399571.36 from Sani Group Incorporated, doing business as BMC Landscape Management. The third and final bid received for the second project is from International Environmental Corporation for a total bid amount of $2,032,272.06. That is 2032272.06 from International Environmental Corporation. Mr. President, that concludes the bid openings for the second project and all bids for today's agenda as well.
All right, thank you, Dr. Campos. We'll have to deal with those numbers. Is there a second to my motion that the bids have been received, opened, and declared?
Second.
By Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Caloza. Forthwith, I would add. Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, any objection?
No objections.
All right, thank you. Then without objection, that'll be the order on agenda item number 2. Some internal items, administrative items. Agenda item number 12, Council District number 8, subcontractor substitution, JR Pipeline Company Incorporated, recommending that the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis, approving the request of JR Pipeline Incorporated for the subcontractor substitution of Robertson Ready Mix Limited, doing business as Robertson's, with Cal Portland Company, doing business as Catalina Pacific Concrete, as the new concrete ready-mix supplier for the 74th Street Sewer Rehabilitation Unit 1 Van Ness to Western project. Anyone that's in the queue to speak on agenda item number 12, the subcontractor substitution, please raise your hand by pressing *9.
Members of the public, if you'd like to make any commentary on this item, can you please press *9? Last call. Any public commentary on this item? Press *9, please. Mr. President, no one has pressed *9. No one has raised their hand on this item. No commentary.
Okay, then I'm assuming for agenda item number 12 that we have Ms. Wiles from, I'm on number 12, that we have Ms. Wiles from BCA.
Good morning.
Good morning.
President James, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my first time here. Yes, with respect to the substitution, Stephanie Wiles, Bureau of Contract Administration, the Bureau received a request on January 24, 2020 from JR Pipeline to substitute Robertson Ready Mix, a listed other business enterprise concrete ready mix supplier with Catalina Pacific Concrete. On January 30th, a certified letter was sent to Robertson's informing JR Pipeline's intention to substitute, and were notified, providing 5 business days, and there was no response received from Robertson. The bid amount for Robertson's portion of ready-mix concrete was $236,000, $79.26. Catalina will complete Robertson's portion of work for this amount. The substitution will be at no additional cost to the city, and the Bureau concurs with the recommendation of Commissioner Davis to approve this substitution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wiles. Any questions? No questions in the room. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
So moved.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No questions, but I second.
Okay, thank you. That's a second for Commissioner Davis's motion. That was your motion, correct, Commissioner Davis?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. And no objection in the room. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
None.
All right.
No objections.
Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 12. Any issue sending number 12 forthwith? We'll send number 12 forthwith. Moving to agenda item number 13 in Council District 6, also a subcontractor substitution, Ford EC Incorporated, recommending that the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis, approving the request of Ford EC Incorporated for the subcontractor substitution of Reyes & Sons Electric Incorporated with CMUS Incorporated for site electrical work for the Council District 6 Etna Street A Bridge Home project. If anyone is in the queue to speak on the subcontractor substitution, agenda item number 13, would you please press star 9 to raise your hand? Seeing any, Dr. Campos?
I have not seen anyone. Just last call, item number 13, members of the general public that would like to make any commentary on item number 13, please press star 9 at this time. Mr. President, no one has raised their hand for item number 13.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wiles, again on number 13.
Yes, good morning again. The Bureau received a request on March 12, 2020 from Ford EC to substitute Reyes & Sons Electric Incorporated, their approved MB subcontractor for electrical work on the above-mentioned project with CMUS Inc., another other business enterprise. The request was accompanied by a letter from Reyes withdrawing from their portion of work. The amount approved for this substitution, or actually for Reyes' portion of work, was $185,000. However, the amount submitted for approval by Ford for CMUS's portion of work was for $250,000 even, a difference of $65,000. Ford will decrease its prime participation to $65,000, so the work performed by CMUS Inc. will be at no additional cost to the city. The Bureau concurs with the recommendation of Commissioner Davis to approve this substitution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No questions. That's, I'll second Commissioner Davis's motion. Any objection? Without objection in the room, Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
No objection. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia, any objection?
No objections.
All right, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 13. Any issue sending 13 forthwith? We'll send number 13 forthwith. Agenda item 11 is an authority for expenditure for the Franklin Covey Client Sales Incorporated. Engineering and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $21,150 to encumber funds for payment of renewal for Franklin Covey All Access Pass 12-month license for users for the period of April 9th, 2020 through April 8th, 2021, the upcoming year. Anyone in the public queue that would like to speak on agenda item number 11 regarding this authority for expenditure, please raise your hand by pressing star 9.
Members of the general public, we are considering item, the Board of Public Work is considering item number 11 at this time. If you'd like to make any commentary, please press star 9 to raise your hand. Last call, item number 11, any public commentary, please press star 9. Mr. President, no one has pressed star 9, no commentary at this time.
All right, thank you. Jason Liu. Mr. Liu on number 11.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Jason.
Yes. Hi, this is Jason Liu with the Bureau of Engineering.
Go right ahead, sir, on number 11.
For Franklin Covey International in the amount of $21,150. Purpose is for payment of Bureau-wide leadership development for BOE employees via webinars and online classrooms. It's an all-access pass, and the duration is 12 months. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. And yeah, so anyways, it's a sort of authority for expenditure for 21,150.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. Any questions of Mr. Liu regarding the payment, requested payment for access to these services? Commissioner Garcia, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
None.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
Just a clarifying question.
Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to know for the cost that BOE is paying for this service, how many employees does that cover from BOE?
The license is for up to 100 users.
Okay, and I see that this isn't the first year that BOE gets it, that applies or, incurs this expense. Is this something that you have consistently, that BOE has consistently had about 100 employees take advantage of this program?
We have had roughly, not all the way to 100, but we have definitely had some usage with the program, users using it for leadership development and all that, and that avenue. But as far as the total amount, we don't have that number.
Okay. In the event that you can get me that information, that would be helpful. If we're already paying for up to a number of users, I would be, I would suggest that we open it up to our other bureaus as well, and then we reconcile the cost differential, at a later date. But that's just a suggestion. I wouldn't want to have all the licensing fees that we're paying for this service to go unused.
Okay, very good, yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Any further questions or comments or requests on agenda item number 11? Seeing none, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 11, seconded by Commissioner Caloza and Commissioner Garcia. That was a second or a question, Commissioner Garcia?
A second.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis, any objection?
None.
Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
No objection.
All right, thank you. Yes, Dr. Campos?
Just a quick reminder for the board, if the board can consider this to be adopted as amended, to send this over to the mayor's office subject to approval due to the belt tightening memo.
Yes, we have these. This is the new amendment that we have to some of these instructions now that we're in the coronavirus budget world. So that would be the motion as amended, seconded as amended, without objection as amended as well. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 11 forthwith. Agenda item number 10 is a budget increase. This is from the Department of Transportation, Engineering and Contract Administration for Council Districts 1 and 13. A requested budget increase and the issuance of change orders for the Crosstown Electric Vision Zero Phase 2C project, recommending that the board first authorize the increase of the contingency of construction funding for the Vision Zero Phase 2C project by $275,000, resulting in a new contract ceiling of $5,391,740.28. And secondly, authorize the general manager of the Department of Transportation to issue change orders to Crosstown Electric necessary to complete the project. Funding for the project has been identified as set forth in the agenda item. On agenda item number 10, if you're in the queue from the public and would like to speak on this upgrading item or a budget increase on this Vision Zero project, please hit *9 and raise your hand.
Members of the general public, the board is considering item number 10 for public commentary at this time. If you'd like to make a comment, please press *9. Last call, item number 10. If you'd like to make any public commentary, if you can press *9. Mr. President, no one has raised their hand. No commentary at this time.
Okay, thank you. We have Mr. Driscoll from the Department of Transportation this morning.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you, sir, and we can see you as well.
Great. So my name is Adam Driscoll with the Department of Transportation, and I'm here to request an increase in the contingency to our Vision Zero 2C contract. You may recall I've been to the board a few times for this contract. We originally awarded it back in November of 2018 to Crosstown Electric. It was about $2.3 million, and it included the scope of work on the Roscoe corridor and the Venice corridor, DOT scope of the work on our complete streets reconstruction projects. I subsequently came to the board and we did another supplemental contract agreement to add the Temple portion to this contract. But this request for the increase in the contingency, we identified the potential for this very early on. As soon as the project was awarded to the contractor and our ConAd inspectors got a hold of it, they quickly realized that a lot of the ramps, most of the ramps we had designed to be installed at the intersections with the signal improvements were not fully in compliance with the latest city standards and the latest ADA standards. It's kind of complicated, but the gist of it is the latest standards require something called a clear space at the base of each ramp. And those ramps didn't include that, so we had to go back to our consultant through BOE and have them redesign these ramps so that they were fully in compliance. So this sort of delayed the project a bit, and also this redesign required the ramps, they had a much bigger footprint, so there was more material to remove, more to install. There's a higher likelihood that these ramps would encroach on existing other utilities, DOT infrastructure, street furniture, and also the installation of this flat clear space at the base of the ramp encroached in the street and required traffic control that wasn't accounted for. So long story short, there were extra costs associated with having these ramps redesigned. And we still had to push the contractor. We were still set on meeting our deadline. So we also had to ask the contractor to sort of build these out of their most ideal and efficient sequence. So for those reasons, we knew pretty early on that we might go over the contingency. And we sort of waited till the end here when we knew exactly how much we would need. And we knew the contractor is done sending us invoices and requests for change orders. So we think we only need about $250,000. We made it $275 just in case, but about $250,000 beyond to raise the budget ceiling will be enough to cover this issue.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Driscoll. Any questions for Mr. Driscoll? Commissioner Garcia?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Is the 275 going to cover all 4 projects? I believe it's 4 projects you have, right?
It was 3 projects, the Roscoe,
projects.
Venice, and Temple. And
Okay.
yes, all of those ramp designs suffered from the same issue, and this amount will cover the full amount of the contract and cover all those projects.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
None.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Closa, no questions. That looked like a motion from Commissioner Davis there.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, I'll second it. I'll second it. Any objection? Commissioner Garcia?
No objections.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas.
None.
Commissioner Caloza, no objection here. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 10. Any issue sending number 10 forthwith? We'll send number 10 forthwith. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
Thank you.
Agenda item, we have 2 street lighting contract award items, 8 and 9. We'll start with agenda item number 8, street lighting and contract administration. Requested contract award in Council District 4. Street lighting conduit only project, Unit 8 high voltage conversion, fiscal year 2019-2020. Recommending that the board receive and file transmittal number 2 as discussed in the report. Secondly, find KDC Incorporated doing business as Dyne Electric, the first low bidder, to be the lowest responsible bidder, and award Dyne Electric the contract for the project for $2,611,144. Third, forward a copy of the report to the affected council district office, that would be CD4. And fourth, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract for the project upon approval of all the required documents by the city attorney. If there's anyone in the public queue that would like to speak on agenda item number 8 regarding this contract award, please press star 9, thereby raising your hand.
Members of the general public, the board is considering item number 8, contract award. If you'd like to make any comments, please raise your hand by pressing star 9 at this time. Item number 8, public comments. Mr. President, we do have one person that has raised their hand. I will go ahead and connect them through.
Great, thank you.
This is Dyne Electric,
Hi.
just in case there's any questions.
Okay, you're just here in case of questions from Dyne Electric.
Correct.
Great, thank you, sir, for being here. Ms. Kwan.
Yes. Good morning, President James, Commissioners, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. This is Janet Kwan with the Bureau of Street Lighting. I'm here to recommend award of the Street Lighting Conduit Only Project Unit 8 to KDC Incorporated, doing business as Dyne Electric, the first low bidder. The project will install new street lighting conduit boxes to facilitate future conversion of the existing high-voltage street lighting system to low voltage. The new conduit is required because the existing conduit is either deteriorated or the existing wires are fused to the conduit, making it extremely difficult or impossible to remove for conversion. After completion of the project, city crews will work the circuits to low voltage by utilizing the new conduit. The financing for this project is through a loan from the Municipal Improvement Corporation of Los Angeles. Dyne Electric, the first low bidder, submitted a bid for $2,611,144, which is 75% lower than the engineer's estimate of $2,823,000. Dyne Electric has met the mandatory subcontracting goal of 4% by pledging 5.26%. They have also met the WBE goal of 2% by pledging 5.6%, complied with the Business Inclusion Program's outreach requirements, BSBE, EBE, DVBE, and OBE. They were found to be responsive and responsible by the Bureau of Contract Administration, or BCA for short. A protest by the apparent second low bidder, Elegnor Belco Electric Incorporated, was submitted against Dyne Electric, proposing that their bid was irregular because they failed to meet the mandatory subcontracting minimum set for the project, that they listed the full amount of bid as the subcontracting amount for TECO Supply Incorporated, and therefore would not be able to perform work on the project, and that they did not list the services that Safeco Supply Incorporated was providing. The protest was received 7 days past the protest deadline, as defined in Part 4 of the bid proposal under Item 21A of the General Instructions and Information for Bidders. Therefore, it is recommended that the protest not be considered. However, as the BCA's routine business inclusion program review, it was noted that Dyne Electric entered the full contract bid amount as the subcontracting amount for a supplier. Even though the bid listed subcontract amount did not match that from the submitted supporting documentation, the bid listed amount applicable to the MB, WBE, SBE, EBE, DVE, MSM partition levels ditch. It was exact 60% of the pre-sales tax amount of the supplier quote, and that supplier quote was exactly the same for 2 other bidders. BCA requested for quotation from Dyne Electric and concluded that the subcontracting amount was entered in error. Staff consulted with the city attorney and was advised that, based on the supporting documentation, correcting the specific type of error is permissible. Therefore, in view of the above findings, we are recommending that the board receive and file the protest and award Dyne Electric the contract for this project. The bid bond for this project is in good standing. It has been extended to May 29, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Ms. Kwan, did you, you were in communication with the bid protest regarding their opportunity to appear at today's hearing, correct?
Yes, I did, yes.
And
they decided not to attend.
Okay, thank you. They determined that they would not attend.
Yes.
Great, thank you. So we'll start with Commissioner Davis. Any questions, Commissioner Davis?
No, I have no questions. The protester decided not to present today. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
None. I'm fine.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Garcia, anything?
No, no questions on my end.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 8 as amended to include the approval, subject to the mayor's approval. Dr. Campos, would you like to more clearly state the amendments that we're putting on these items at this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Recommendation is to approve this item as adopted, adopt this item as amended, subject to the mayor's approval due to the belt tightening memo.
Great, thank you. That's my motion. Is there a second? Was that a second, Commissioner Garcia? Yes, Commissioner
Yes,
Garcia
sir.
and Commissioner Davis?
And Davis.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas, any objection?
None.
Okay, and without objection in the room, we'll adopt agenda item number 8 as amended without objection. Any issue, sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. That takes us to our second requested contract award from street lighting this morning. Council Districts 3, 4, 5, and 7. Street lighting conduit only project Unit 9 high voltage conversion for the fiscal year 2019-2020, which comes to an end at the end of June, of course. Recommending that the board first receive and file transmittal number 2 as discussed in the report. Secondly, find KDC Incorporated doing business as Dynalectric, the apparent second low bidder, to be the lowest responsible bidder after the LBP, that's local business, percentage is applied, and award Dynalectric the contract for the project for $2,693,762. Secondly, forward a copy of the report to the affected council district offices, those were listed a moment ago. And fourth, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract for the project upon approval of all required documents by the city attorney. If you are in the public queue and would like to speak on agenda item number 9 on this street lighting project, please press star 9 to raise your hand.
Members of the public, the Board of Public Works is now considering item number 9. If you'd like to make any commentary, please press star 9. Members of the public, item number 9, any public commentary, please press star 9 at this time. Mr. President, we do not have anyone with their raised hand. We still have Dynalectric, the contractor, on the line as well for any questions.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Ms. Kwan again on number 9.
On the line.
For street lighting conduit only project Unit 9, we're also recommending award to KDC Incorporated doing business as Dynalectric, the lowest responsible bidder after the local business percentage is applied. The project has the same scope as Unit 8, just in different areas. It will install new street lighting conduit and pole boxes to facilitate future conversion of the existing high voltage street lighting system to low voltage. The funding source for this project is also through a loan by the Municipal Improvement Corporation of Los Angeles. International Line Builders Incorporated, ILB for short, is the apparent first low bidder and submitted a bid for $2,602,335.20, which is 11.09% higher than the engineer's estimate of $2,342,550. Dynalectric, the apparent second low bidder, submitted a bid for $2,693,762, which is 14.99% higher than the engineer's estimate. The difference between their bids is $91,426.80. In compliance with the Local Business Preference Program, an 8% reduction in bid amount is applied to certified local business enterprises for comparison purposes. ILB is not a certified local business enterprise, so they were not granted the reduction in their bid amounts. Dynalectric is a certified local business enterprise, so they were granted the 8% reduction in their bid amounts. Their adjusted bid amount became $2,478,261.04, which is lower than ILB's bid of $2,602,335.02. Therefore, Dynalectric became the first low bidder. Dynalectric has met the mandatory subcontracting goal of 4% by pledging 5.26%, coincidentally the same percentage as Unit 8. They have also met the WBE goal of 2% by pledging 5.26% and have complied with the Business Inclusion Program's outreach requirements for MBE, SBE, EBE, DVBE, and OBE. They were found to be responsive and responsible by the Bureau of Contract Administration. A protest by the apparent first low bidder, ILB, was submitted against Dynalectric, proposing that Dynalectric's bid was irregular because they failed to meet the mandatory subcontracting minimum and the 50% participation requirement by subcontracting the full bid amount. The protest was received 3 days past the protest deadline, as defined in Part 4 of the bid proposal under Item 21A of the General Instructions and Information for Bidders. Therefore, it is recommended that the protest not be considered. However, as part of BCA's routine business inclusion program review, it was noted that Dynalectric entered the full contract bid amount as the subcontracting amount for a supplier. Even though the bid listed subcontracting amount did not match that from the submitted supporting documentation, the bid listed amount applicable to the MP, WB, SBE, EBE, DBBE, MSM participation levels did match. It was exactly 60% of the pre-sales tax amount of the supplier quote, and that supplier quote was exactly the same as 2 other bidders. BCA requested for clarification from Dynalectric and concluded that the subcontracting amount was entered in error. Staff consulted with the city attorney and was advised that, based on the supporting documentation, correcting this specific type of error is permissible. In view of the above findings, we are recommending that the board receive and file the protest and award Dynalectric the contract for this project. The bid bond for this project is in good standing. It has been extended to May 29th, 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kwan. Can I confirm with you again that regarding the objection on this, the objecting entity was notified of today's hearing and made a determination as to whether or not to appear?
Yes, I had spoken to them on the phone, and they have decided not to attend today's meeting.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No, I have none. It seems as if the same oversight that occurred in the preceding motion is the same one that occurred here. So it is a permissible correction according to our city attorney, and so I'm very clear on what has occurred, and more importantly, on the decision that was made given all of the evidence presented to the department in terms of the best choice of vendor on this project.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis. And just to confirm, to get a verbal confirmation from Mr. Jordan, our city attorney on this item, Mr. Jordan, the board is able to proceed with this correction, correct?
Yes, this is one of those instances which happen from time to time, although not that common, where notwithstanding the error in the bid documents, it's clear what the intended amount was. So it's similar to those situations where people misplace a comma or do things like that. The intent of the bidder was clear in this case, and we feel comfortable moving forward.
Great, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Garcia?
No questions on my end.
Thank you. Commissioner Villegas?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, thank you. No questions in the room here. Was that a motion from Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. I'll second it, along with Commissioner Davis. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
None.
Okay, that would be as amended as well, Dr. Campos, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, as amended for mayor's approval. Any objection, Commissioner Caloza? All right, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 9 as amended. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 9 forthwith as amended. Ms. Kwan, thank you. That takes us to agenda item number 7, a personal services contract for Hoffman Southwest Corporation doing business as Professional Pipe Services, National Plant Services Sewer Condition Assessments, recommending that the board first approve and forward the report with transmittals to the mayor and the city council, with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute personal services contracts with Hoffman Southwest Corporation doing business as Professional Pipe Services and National Plant Services to provide sewer condition assessment by closed-circuit television and sewer cleaning services. The term of the proposed agreements shall be for 5 years. The contract ceiling has been established, this is the ceiling, has been established at $20 million for the 5-year period, which will be divided between the 2 contractors for the duration of the contracts. National Plant's maximum projected cost is $6,475,000. I'm sorry, let me repeat. National Plant's maximum projected cost is $16,475,925, and ProPipe's maximum projected cost is $14,508,050. However, the projected cost is not the cost set, as the contract will be paid based on performance of work, which will not exceed the established contract ceiling combined for the entities of $20 million. Secondly, authorize the president or two members of the board to execute the contracts and return them to sanitation for further processing upon approval of the mayor and city council. Do we have anyone in the public queue for agenda item number 7? If you are, press star 9, please.
Members of the general public, the Board of Public Works is now considering item number 7, a personal services contract. If you'd like to make any public commentary on this item, please press star 9 at this time. Again, members of the general public, for any public commentary on item number 7, please press star 9. Last call. Mr. President, no one has raised their hand. No commentary on item number 7 at this time.
Okay, then let's go to Jennifer Lee.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning, board members and bureau representatives. My name is Jennifer Lee, and I'm representing Sanitation's Clean Water Conveyance Division. I'm here to request authority to award and execute the closed-circuit television contracts with Hoffman Southwest Corporation, doing business as Professional Pipe Services, ProPipe for short, and National Plant Services Incorporated. The contract duration is to be 5 years with the established contract cost ceiling at $20 million, distributed based on contractors' performance and city CCTV needs. For some background, CCTV is the primary tool for condition assessment for our collection system. As I'm sure you may be aware, the city of Los Angeles has over 6,700 miles of sewer lines that serve over 4 million residential and business customers, making it the largest collection system in the nation. CCTV is used to plan, identify, and prioritize our future capital improvement projects. In our conveyance system operations, our city uses CCTV for spills, special requests, condition assessments, and QA/QC and other programs. CCTV is vital to the reduction and prevention of sanitary sewer overflows. Our previous contracts, including the original contract, the amendments, and an extension, were for a total of 5.5 years and had a $20 million cost ceiling. Those contracts were with ProPipe and National Plant Services, which expired on April 24th, 2019, and June 4th, 2019, respectively. We had a bridge authority of expenditure to allow work from July 1st, 2019 to February 1st, 2020. During the time in which we did not have a contract or an authority of expenditure, we used our city CCTV crew. Our city crew was only able to handle special requests and spill CCTVs, which led to our condition assessment and QA/QC programs to be put on hold. During the selection process, our proposals were evaluated based on our selected criteria. Based on these criteria, ProPipe was the highest score and National Plant Services was the third highest score. The second highest score did not submit a completed City Ethics Commission Form 55, which rendered their proposal non-responsive per Article 7.16 of the RFP. Due to the on-call nature of the contract, the proposers did not pledge subcontract amounts, and so it is not possible to calculate the pledge participation levels. National Plant Services pledged to utilize 2 subcontractors as on an as-needed basis. Subcontractors at time of bid. Aside from the subcontracting being on an as-needed basis, the scope of CCTV is limited and thus provides few opportunities for subcontracting. Awarding these contracts will ensure that our CCTV services can continue and help prevent sewage spills. I kindly request your approval to continue our much-needed assessment services. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. Any questions regarding this CCTV contract? The RFP process is explained in the board report. It spanned over a period of time. We'll start with Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President James. Question, have we used Hoffman Southwest Corporation before to do this CCTV?
Yes, we were contracted with them on our last contract.
Okay, sorry, I missed that then. Okay, no problems. Those were my questions.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Villegas?
Thank you. I just noticed that the RFPs, if you could just go through that again, it seems that just for transparency purposes, looks like they, both folks that were going to be submitting this contract to also did the work previously, and just wanted to reiterate that again because it is a large contract, but for transparency purposes, because our, I think in the board report it says that ProPipe was number 3, and our second bidder wasn't able to submit all the paperwork necessary. If you can clarify that for us.
Yes, ProPipe was the highest score, and National Plant Services was the third highest score. Our second highest score didn't fill out the City Ethics Commission Form 55 completely. They missed 4 of their subcontractors. And per the RFP Article 7.16, when responses submitted without a completed CEC Form 55 shall be deemed non-responsive.
Okay, and they were notified to submit this information through emails, phone calls. They had the proper notice.
It was required when they submitted their proposals.
So they should have read that through the RFP process.
Yes, correct.
Okay. All right, and seeing that we have so many like sewer lines that need to be inspected, do we have our own list of sewer lines that need to be inspected, like in queue? Like certain sewer lines that are going to be inspected prior to any kind of work being done on them?
Yes, we do. So we have a list of priority sewer basins, which we base off of the need to assess these specific sewer lines in specific areas. And also, BOE has capital improvement projects on specific basins as well, which requires CCTV to design and plan the work that's needed for those sewer lines.
Okay, and I am assuming that you have a list also of the work that your sanitation employees do versus the work that your contractors will do?
Yes, we do. So sanitation employees only do CCTVs of post-spills and also some special requests. They don't do any condition assessment.
Okay, all right. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No, my comments and observations are that I strongly support this contract in as much as the contractors will provide a very necessary service for us to appropriately maintain our inventory of pipes. And I think that the reasons for the third contractor has been adequately explained in terms of being in compliance. So again, I support it, and I think that the service that is provided is critically important for us to be effective in the maintenance of our inventory in this area.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Thank you for the presentation. Can't recall if you've touched on this already. It was a bit muffled, at least from my end here, but can you confirm whether or not LA Sanitation is happy with the current services that we're receiving from both ProPipe and National Plant?
Yeah, we're satisfied with their work. I find that whatever we're not happy with, when we discuss those issues with both contractors, they are happy to work with us to better their services.
And kind of piggybacking off of Commissioner Villegas's comments, this is, again, a very large contract. Are there any sort of assessments, whether it be annually, that happen just to check on the quality of their work? I know the CCTV work is always a little bit tricky, but it's, I know, part of the critical infrastructure that LA Sanitation manages?
Actually, these CCTVs are reviewed by our division and wastewater engineering services division on a pretty regular basis. If our contractors see that there's a really large break or a large blockage or anything like that, they send it to us to review right away. And then anything that doesn't have any issues that need to be assessed immediately, they do get reviewed about a month later.
Okay. And then, is there anything in this RFP in terms of the turnaround time from the CCTV to when it gets to the city? And sorry to ask like a very specific question on that. I just was curious because sometimes I get the emergency authorizations for these sewer repairs, and I know that's one of the comments that I have sometimes is, you know, when I get the emergency authorizations, like why is this CCTV from 2-3 months ago if this is urgent?
Right. So the turnaround time, it varies based on our programs. Condition assessments do take a little bit longer to complete than like QA/QC or special request. I think the reason why, are you talking about like ESR requests and Sewer 6 requests?
Yeah, they're usually the ESR requests, so sometimes that's just a observation I've made that the CCTV is maybe not recent. It's maybe 3 to 4 months old, and I just wasn't sure if that was common or if that's just something we're working to improve in this new contract.
Usually with ESR, 2 to 3 month old CCTVs are not common, but it does happen where we don't get the CCTVs right away and it slips through the cracks. And when we do see it, we can't wait for the Sewer 6 to do it at a later time, so it does have to go to ESR. Yeah. And also if ESR deems that it's not an emergency based on their criteria, they can transfer it over to Sewer 6 to complete as well. We've discussed that with them prior.
Okay. And just one last question for me is, was there any additional review for this contract kind of taking into account our projected budget and fiscal impacts of COVID-19, or this was one of the proposals and contracts that LA-SAN deemed as was fine as is?
No, we didn't look into it regarding the COVID-19 issue. This has been ongoing for quite a while, so we didn't review it based on COVID-19. So I think we just left it as is.
Okay, all right. Thank you for answering my questions. I don't have anything else right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. I think I've gone through everyone. I don't have any questions to add to what's already been asked. Therefore, I would make a motion that we, any issues, Mr. Jordan, from you, by the way, while you're there?
No, we concur with the recommendations in the report.
Okay, thank you. Then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Caloza. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
None.
All right, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Lee.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to agenda item number 3. This item was continued from last Tuesday to today. Request by the Bureau for further communication and outreach, which I suspect has been done. Let's pre-apprenticeship program. 1 second, Ron, I'm in the middle of a meeting. Pre-apprenticeship program graffiti removal projects, recommending that the board adopt the staff proposals for implementation of a pre-apprenticeship program for graffiti removal. Dr. Campos, will you see if anybody in the queue is here to speak on this item? If you are, press *9 to raise your hand.
Good morning, members of the general public. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 3 on graffiti removal projects. Item number 3. If you'd like to make any commentary on item number 3, please press star 9. Last call. Members of the general public, any commentary on item number 3, please press star 9 at this time. Mr. President, no one has raised their hand. No commentary in the queue at this time.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Mr. Jensen on agenda item number 3. Hi, Chris.
Good morning, Commissioners, Bureau Representatives, Mr. Jordan and Mr. Campos. I trust you can hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Yes.
Very good, very good. Thank you. When we first began, when we first became aware that graffiti removal required the payment of prevailing wages, everyone involved in taking care of it in the city of Los Angeles was very concerned because the prevailing wage rate typically associated with this type of work was significantly lower than what the city had been paying and really higher than the city could afford. It would have been either more than doubling the city's graffiti removal budget or drastically reducing the amount of graffiti that was addressed, or possibly some combination of each. The Bureau of Contract Administration approached this matter by working with Painters, District Council 36, also with the laborers and the State Department of Industrial Relations to create a new prevailing wage rate that was more in line with the work being performed. The state, particularly with the help of Robert Smith and Painters District Council 36, did ultimately create this new wage rate, a rate that is much more realistic and manageable. Simultaneously with the Bureau's efforts, the community-based organizations that were actually doing the work approached Senator Hirschberg and crafted a bill which would allow a number of their workers to be exempt from the payment of prevailing wages altogether. The bill allowed volunteers and volunteer coordinators, as well as individuals performing community service ordered by a court, to be exempt. It also exempted individuals enrolled in a bona fide pre-apprenticeship training program. Now, to be a bona fide program, the program must have been established pursuant to an agreement between the City of Los Angeles and a building trades apprenticeship program approved by the state. It must follow the multi-craft core curriculum program, sometimes called the MC3 program, that's implemented by the state. A pre-apprentice may be enrolled for no longer than 1 year, and at the end of that year, it must have provided pathways for continued employment after that pre-apprenticeship is completed. The bill was passed and codified as Section 1720.5 of the Labor Code. What we are asking with this board report is simply that the board affirm that they are in favor of using pre-apprentices, as Section 1720.5 allows, on graffiti removal projects in the city. This helps to meet the statutory requirements of what was Senate Bill 913 and now, as I said, 1720.5 of the Labor Code. This is the legislation that the community-based organizations helped to get passed. For the residents, particularly the younger residents of the city, pre-apprenticeship provides one more option, one more portal to a path that can lead not to just a job, but to a well-paying long-term career. So we hope you support this.
Thank you, Mr. Jensen.
Any questions?
Well, we'll get there.
I would like to, there was one question that was raised as to whether this might be in violation of the worker retention ordinance that was passed last week. I have spoken to 3 of the community-based organizations. I got very passionate responses from them. They have not been laying off anyone. They keep their staff even when they're operating in the red. The three I spoke to were all very emphatic that they want to keep their staff. They don't want to lay off anyone. And one of them actually surprised me. She even expressed to me that she was concerned that someone might want to try to force them to lay off their staff, their senior staff, to bring in younger workers who could be paid less. I was very surprised by that and quickly assured her that no, that was exactly the opposite of what the worker retention ordinance was. So.
Okay, thank you. I would just add, I see Paul Roch on the screen. Mr. Roch, anything to add to Mr. Jensen before we go to questions from the commissioners? Paul Roch is the head of our Office of Community Beautification.
Yeah, I would just like to, say that OCB is in support of this. It's our understanding that this is not a requirement for all of our contractors, but is an option for them. And so as long as that's the case, because we have had some of our contractors really interested in utilizing the apprenticeship program, others not so much. So we are in support as long as it remains, an option that they can take advantage of. It does seem like it would add some additional costs, and there are no funds that would go along with it. But if it's something that the contractors are able to make do with and figure out a way to do it, then I think that'd be great.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Caloza reminded me that there were two general public comments that we received on the Google site in favor of this as well. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James, and thank you to Chris for just circling back on the question I had during the briefing, and just wanted to reiterate what he already mentioned, that the mayor had signed 2 ordinances last week, worker retention and right of recall. And so we really just wanted to clarify and make sure that there was nothing conflicting in this pre-apprenticeship item that we were taking action on today that might worry people who weren't sure what the circumstances were with employment for all the different CBOs that were involved. But I'm glad to hear that there was, from at least what we're aware of, no one had been laid off, and that they're doing the opposite of that from the few that we heard from. So just wanted to thank BCA and OCB for your work on this. And this pre-apprenticeship program will provide another pathway for workers to get into these higher paying careers. So thanks.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Garcia? Any comments or questions?
Sorry, I was on mute, President James. Thank you, President James, Commissioner Caloza, and Chris. I don't have access to those 2 letters of support that came in. So would you mind reading out loud is it okay to read them? Who are the members that sent them in?
So I've got Joe St. John.
Okay.
President James and Commissioners, thank you for your consideration of this proposal. As a current graffiti abatement contractor and community-based nonprofit, KYCC supports this proposal. Chris Jensen has gone out of his way to ensure all voices were heard, and we appreciate his efforts to meet the statutory requirements of California Senate Bill 913. That's the first one. The second one we received was from Tom Weisbarth, W-E-I-S-S-B-A-R-T-H. Comment: the revised proposal for implementation reflects an understanding of the unique and varied needs of the graffiti removal CBOs throughout the city. Chris Jensen was open to comments and suggestions since the first release of this document, and it shows. Thank you. Those are the 2 comments, Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President, for that. I appreciate that. I don't have any real questions. I'm glad that Paul and Chris were able to connect on this and get some clarification of what this meant. A clarifying, item would be that the pathway of getting folks through this process and hired will be through the CBO, not the city itself. So just wanted to make that distinction Other than that, I'm in support of this program. It offers opportunity to folks that don't have it. And I'm always about making sure that folks get new pathways or new ways of improving their life.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Villegas, anything, questions or comments?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, question or comments?
I support it. This is a long-term response to a problem that many of our community-based organizations have been pondering for quite a while in terms of how they could appropriately accommodate those individuals who were working with them who wanted to do graffiti removal. And I think that the opportunity for them to be consistently engaged in working with CBOs, in addition to the fact that while CBOs will accommodate their future in becoming apprentices, it is clearly going to take the support and the cooperation of our labor brothers and sisters to accommodate future apprenticeship opportunities. I think overall, this effort and this bill that the senator has put forth helps us to really embrace the mayor's back to basic principles and creating jobs for all Los Angelinos, because we are a dynamic city. We have people in various status levels. And I think that there are many people who are unemployed and underemployed. And a project like this gives us yet another tool to hit all of the people who need employment in Los Angeles. And again, I'm most pleased that it presents an opportunity for labor to work with CBOs to get some Los Angelinos, young people who are doing graffiti removal, into a permanent labor living wage job. So I strongly support it because, you know, one, it's been a long-term problem that we have pondered for some time, and two, it leads to a strong relationship between community-based organizations, and it leads to the opportunity that labor can provide in helping to present some great jobs for the people in our city. So that's my take on it, and again, I support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. That sounds like a motion, which, is that a motion, Commissioner Davis?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you. And a second by Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. I would just add a couple of things. One, just a few thank yous for the work and the persistence working with the state legislature and the Department of Industrial Relations. And Mr. Jensen, I want to thank you and your team for staying on top of this and for all the updates and the briefings and answering all the questions. Mr. Reamer as well, John Reamer, very helpful in this area. Greg Good in our Legislative Affairs Office of the Mayor's Office. Barbara Romero, our Deputy Mayor for City Services. Commissioner Garcia, this is something that you've been very involved with really since you started on the Board of Public Works. I want to thank you for that continuing work. Commissioner and former Commissioner Heather Repenning as well was something that I think Commissioner Repenning handed this off to you, Commissioner Garcia, when you came on board. And then a thank you to our labor partners, Bob Smith at the Painters, Sergio Rascon at Laborers, and the others that we've been working with throughout all of this. Thank you for their cooperation and patience and trust in the working relationship with all of us. So that's a motion by Commissioner Davis, seconded by Commissioner Garcia and myself. Any objection, Commissioner Villegas?
None, just thank you everybody for your hard work.
Thank you, and without objection from Commissioner Caloza as well. Agenda item number 7 passes without objection, and we can send, I'm sorry, number three, 7 was a moment ago. Number 3 passes without objection, and we can send number 3 forthwith without objection as well. Mr. Jensen, thank you to you and your team. All right, thank you, Cindy. Let's go to agenda item number 4. Agenda item number 4. Let me repeat. I know we have some people on the queue that are interested in agenda item number 4, so we're calling number 4 now. I'm going to call let me just tell you how we're going to handle the hearing on number 4. I'm going to call the item. That I will read through the item that's in the agenda. Then we're going to find out how many hands we have raised in the queue, for people that want to speak. Based on that, we'll determine what the timing is going to be for public comment. Then before public comment happens, we're going to hear the presentation from Streets LA, Mr. Banuelos. After Mr. Banuelos explains the item, then we'll go to public comment and then further questions. So let me call agenda item number 4. Council District 13, tree removal, 1565 and 1573 West Landa Street. Recommending that the board first find that the project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 3, Category 1, and Class 32 infill of the city's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. Secondly, find that none of the exceptions to the use of a categorical exemption as set forth in Section 15300.2 of state CEQA guidelines apply. Third, specify that the Bureau of Street Services, that's Streets LA, Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And 4, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 9 protected trees, which include 7 coast live oak trees and 2 California black walnut trees. Tree replacements are required. This has been continued a couple of times. It was continued March 6th based on requests from community stakeholders. Secondly, that was kind of the one free request that we grant communities when they ask for it. Secondly, was Tuesday, April 7th, which was more of a scheduling COVID-related continuance due to board meetings and such. And that puts us to today, May 5th. So if you are in the queue and would like to speak on agenda item number 4, could you please raise your hand for our executive officer by pressing *9, and then we'll go through and get a total of how many people would like to speak on this item. So Dr. Campos will give you a couple of minutes to do that. By the way, we also have a number of general public comment forms that we received through the Google site as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 4. If you'd like to make any public comment on item number 4, if you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Item number 4, public comments, if you can press *9. Mr. President, I will go ahead and tally up how many individuals have raised their hand. Just give me 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Mr. President, I have a total of 13 callers on the line wishing to make public comments on item number 4.
13 callers on item number 4. Okay. So with 13 callers, we'll leave our normal 2-minute time limit. So it's the standard time limit we have for our Board of Public Works. If we have questions or want further commentary from any of our callers, please stay on the line. We may come back to you after your 2 minutes. And please identify yourself when you begin speaking, because you may be someone, depending on your commentary, that we may want to come back to for questions or clarification. So you've got those 13 identified, Dr. Campos?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Mr. Banuelos, are you present, sir? Hector Banuelos.
Yes, I'm present.
Great, thank you, sir. So we're on number 4, Mr. Banuelos.
Yes.
So would you go ahead with your summary of number 4 before we go to our speakers?
Yes. Okay, good morning, President James, Commissioners, Mr. Jordan, Dr. Campos, Hector Banuelos with the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. We have before us is a request for the applicant to remove 9 protected trees, which include 7 coast live oaks and 2 Southern California black walnuts. There is one dead, I just want to note there is one dead walnut tree at one of the properties as well. So the applicant is proposing to construct 2 single-family residences on 2 vacant lots located at 1565 and 1573 West Landa Street in the community of Elysian Park, there in the Council District 13. The proposed homes will have a residential floor area of approximately 2,500 square feet per residence on the lots that measure approximately 10,469 and 9,608 square feet. In order to construct the homes, the owner must construct a new roadway, which is currently a paper street, a roadway called Twin Oak Street. It's at the rear of the properties, and this is needed to provide access to the proposed residences. There is a total of 34 protected trees that are identified on both properties, and 9 protected trees were identified for removal, in addition to 1 dead walnut tree. At 1565, there are a total of 20 protected trees on this property, which 6 oak trees and there is 1 dead walnut will be impacted by the required construction of the home, required grading and retaining walls, and included the new street. At 1573 West Landa Street, there are a total of 14 protected trees there, of which 1 oak and 2 walnut trees were identified for removal due to their construction and new roadway and grading and construction retaining walls. There are 24 protected trees will be retained in place and will be protected throughout and remain. The site is only there's only room. We only found room to feasibly plant 21 replacement trees on both sites, due to the site topography, the location of the new dwellings, and the other trees that are going to be remaining in place. We have reached out to Department of Recreation and Parks, and we've asked if they can have room to plant 9 additional coast live oak trees and 4 of the 8 15-gallon or larger Southern California black walnut trees at nearby park in the council district. They have responded and did acknowledge and can plant the trees within a park within the respective council district. The Department of City Planning did determine that the project is categorically exempt, and the 13th Council District Office, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and the Community Forestry Advisory Committee were notified of the tree removals. We did not receive any opposition, nor did we receive any information that the Council District is in support of the project. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Banuelos. Before questions, Dr. Campos will go through our callers on the item. Remember, it'll be 2 minutes, everyone, and we're just going to go through the list that Dr. Campos has. Please identify yourself, and if you are speaking on behalf of any organization beyond speaking for yourself, please let us know.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. I will go ahead and allow those to dial in for public comments. I will start with phone number ending in 8511. I will go ahead and unmute you at this time. We will be allowed 2 minutes, and I will give you a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. At this time, caller number 8511, I will go ahead and unmute your microphone if you can state your name and then begin your testimony.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes, we can.
Hi, my name is Jackie Serber. I'm calling on behalf of the community organization Angelinos for Trees, and we're extremely concerned about this for several reasons. First of all, this project will have a very significant impact on the environment. There was a biologist there who identified Cooper Ecological, who was hired and identified crucial habitat within a highly urban setting, stopover migratory for birds. Local species such as bobcats and gray foxes are using this as a corridor. And, you know, we're really dismayed with the city's continuance of this replacement tree program. It's not proven to be an equitable canopy trade-off. There's no follow-up from the city if these trees actually grow into anything, what the mortality rate is. These trees don't instantly provide the same environmental services. And so this habitat that you're removing, it's more than just the protected oaks and the protected walnut. It's the entire square footage of all the scrub species that provide habitat for the butterflies, which give way to caterpillars, which feed the birds. And the city is just constantly allowing these projects, which should, you know, be a CEQA project. It should not be exempt. How can you say it's an exemption when it's completely having an impact? And when you're doing this repeatedly in every single hillside community throughout Los Angeles, it's destroying the fabric of the environment that remains here, which is why during COVID we've had such amazing air quality, because we have these pockets of oxygen that are giving, you know, clean air and filtering what pollution is here. If we didn't have these fragments that were left, we would just be a concrete jungle with nothing else. And so I'm very concerned this is illegal. I don't see how this is a CEQA exemption, and I just really urge.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Campos, to the next person. Dr. Campos, can once their 2 minutes is up, if they can't hear me say thank you, can you?
Yes, that's exactly what I just did.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We will go to the next caller, caller ending in 8889. You will be given 2 minutes. We will give you a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. If you can state your name, your microphone has been unmuted, and the board can hear you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
My name is Teresa Brady, and I am calling to say that I feel that it's very important for us to save mature trees, and especially mature protected trees like the oak and black walnut. Black walnuts are very difficult to replace because they tend to only do well where they have propagated on their own. When people try to replace them by planting them, they do not generally succeed. Also, as the other caller said, the wildlife that require this property, the bobcats and the foxes, indicate that this should not be CEQA exempt, but it should have a CEQA review. So I think that's really all I had to say.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Dr. Campos, next person.
Yes, caller ending in 8353. Caller ending in 8353. We went ahead and unmuted your microphone. You have 2 minutes. We will give you a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. If you'd like to begin to provide your testimony, your commentary on item number 4. If you can state your name first,
yes,
please.
Thank you. Hi, this is Ricky De La Viaga. I'm speaking on behalf of Fellowship Heights Neighborhood Association. I'd like to thank the board for taking my comments. I respectfully urge you to deny the permit for removal of 9 mature protected trees located at 1573 West Landis Street and 1565 West Landis Street. This is irreplaceable woodland that extends Elysian Park, one of the largest urban preserved green spaces of its kind, and part of Santa Monica Mountain Zone. Replacement trees are insufficient, as the other callers have noted. I agree with everything Jackie and I think it was Teresa said. These precious coast live oak walnut woodlands provide important foraging habitat for red-tailed hawks, bobcats, gray foxes, coyotes, owls, and countless other fauna. Beyond the negative impact on traffic and well-being of neighbors and cutting off of access to trails approval will represent, the project will have a significant effect on the environment and constitute an egregious loss of habitat for rare, threatened, and endangered species. And I just want to speak.
Hello? Did we lose you, sir?
Caller ending in
Public Works
8353.
and notified us.
There you go. Go ahead and
Still have
wrap up,
30
sir.
seconds, excuse me. And walking around speaking to neighbors, no one was aware of this hearing. And so we did our best to get the word out, but there's many other people who are concerned about this who are not going to be represented on this call. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
you, Ricky.
Dr. Campos, let's go to the next caller, please.
Absolutely. Next caller in the queue is caller ending in 9719. Caller ending in 9719. We will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. If you can please state your name before providing your commentary, you would be given 2 minutes and a 15-second warning before the 2 minutes are up. Caller ending in 9719, if you can start your public commentary on item number 4.
This is Dr. Travis Longcore. I'm a certified senior ecologist with the Ecological Society of America. I've reviewed the documents on this project and have coordinated this response with attorney Mr. Hall. The site has Coast Live Oak California Walnut Woodland, which is a recognized sensitive natural community by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. California Department of Fish and Wildlife has a series of guidelines that have to be followed under CEQA for assessing sensitive natural communities. This community has an S 4.2 ranking, which means it is considered a sensitive community by the state of California. The natural community has an S3 ranking, and the walnut has an S 4.2. The state has guidelines to do this. The city has not followed any of these guidelines as required under CEQA. California Department of Fish and Wildlife has already assessed that the rarity of the natural community and the species is eligible for consideration under CEQA, and that's right there in black and white on their website. It would not be legal to apply a categorical exemption in this instance for at least 4 different reasons. First, there would be a significant impact because of unusual circumstances. The unusual circumstances are that you have 2 state-ranked rare species, natural community and species, and also Dan Cooper found a globally imperiled species, global rank 1, the Trask's shoulder-band snail on this site. Impacting those species without mitigation is, by definition, a significant impact by Los Angeles CEQA guidelines. Second, sites located in a critical resource area, the Santa Monica Mountain Zone, you can't apply a exemption for, under those circumstances. Third, you can't apply the Class 32 exemption if there is habitat for rare or endangered species. It is true beyond a reasonable doubt, any doubt, that there are rare species on this site.
Travis,
Fourth,
2 minutes are up.
repeated
Thank you,
application
Mr.
of a category.
Longcore. Thank you, sir. Please stay on the line, Mr. Longcore. We may have questions for you. Dr. Campos, go to the next person, please.
Absolutely. The next person in the queue is Terry, phone number ending in 4004. Terry, we have unmuted your microphone. If you'd like to state your name first, we will give you 2 minutes and a 15-second warning before the 2 minutes are up. Terry, ending in 4004, your microphone is open. Please provide your commentary at this time.
Thank you. I'm actually David Troy, using the same phone. She had to leave. She asked that the position of the Sierra Club Conservation Chair of the San Fernando Valley be unable to make it known that they are against an exemption to this project's use of CEQA. I cannot believe the professionalism of the previous comments. I am very pleased and impressed. I agree that, I am not the professional, but I'm a person who's wandered the forest for my whole life. I'm 76. I have seen the deforestation of this country. This is global warming, California states that all agencies must take into consideration global warming in all their activities and all their deliberations. These mature trees, on that point, also need to be given a CEQA assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Campos, the next one, please.
Yes, we will go on to the next person in the queue, caller ending in 1688. Caller ending in 1688. Your microphone has been unmuted. If you'd like to please provide your commentary, you'll be given 2 minutes, and you'll also receive a 15-second warning before 2 minutes. Please state your name and begin your commentary at this time. Caller ending in 1688.
Thank you, Fernando. I trust that I can be heard.
Yes.
Hello, President James and Commissioners. Diana Zogran, Horticulture Science Advisor to the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance Trees Committee. I'm calling in today to urge you to deny the permit for the removal of 9 protected trees. As made clear in the association's letter and by the experts at Cooper Ecological and Land Protection Partners, this is not the type of project that should be exempt from CEQA. As identified by the experts, this is a coast live oak, California walnut woodland, a state-recognized sensitive natural community, and rare species are on site, which make environmental review under CEQA a requirement. Planting a boxed tree from a nursery does not mitigate the loss of a coast live oak California walnut woodland plant community, a community that includes plant and wildlife, some of which are rare and in danger of disappearing. Moreover, we can't go back to donating trees. Requiring the applicant to provide box trees to the Department of Recreation and Parks is an ineffective mitigation measure. The city has a documented history of failing to plant donated trees. The Department of Recreation and Parks is hampered by lack of funding, and I have personally documented the failure of newly planted trees in our parks. Even if the replacement trees were to get planted, it would take more than 3 years of maintenance to ensure that they would survive, especially, during this time of extreme weather conditions, and especially with the city department that is hampered by insufficient funding. So again, I urge you to deny this
15 seconds.
Project as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Ms. Antonio. That was Ms. Antonio, correct?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Antonio. Nice to hear from you. Dr. Campos, let's go to the next person, please.
Absolutely, Mr. President. The next caller in the queue is caller ending in 6330. Caller ending in 6330. We will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. You will be given 2 minutes and a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. If you can start your public commentary on item number 4, start with your name, please.
My name's Anne Marie Boyle, and I'm a private citizen. Aside from all the amazing comments I've already heard, which I completely agree with, I just, as a private citizen and longtime resident of Echo Park, Silver Lake, and now Atwater Village, I would like to say that it is crucial that we check this rush to urban development in our neighborhoods, where trees are, suffering and going down one by one secretly. I've reported developers who've illegally removed trees from city property, and haven't had any follow-up with that. I've also seen beautiful lots of trees taken down, oaks and pines, for high-density development. And, it's not illegal. Maybe they paid fines. Maybe they bought the trees and took them out, but I don't believe trees should be for sale in our city for many of the reasons already mentioned. I think accountability and change across the board is what we need in how we approach the regulation of our green spaces going forward, especially in our Los Angeles neighborhoods, which are so dear to us, and the adjacent
downtown neighborhoods are being affected a lot with high-density development. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Dr. Campos, the next caller, please.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. This is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. Just a quick question for Anne-Marie. Are you also on the line on 6330 and 7330? I have your name on two.
I'm actually 7330.
Okay, I will go ahead and lower your hand on both landlines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, we'll go to the next caller in the queue. Caller ending in 2215. Caller ending in 2215. I will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. Caller ending in 2215, you will be given 2 minutes to provide your public testimony on item number 4. 15-second warning before the 2 minutes are up. If you can begin your testimony now. Thank you.
Sounds good, yeah. So my name is Miles Lewis, and I think this is a completely representative example of bad environmental mitigation with significant opportunity for abuse. In the issue, there's a 35-tree woodland under the power of the applicant, right? So 9 trees have been identified for removal, and I really don't think that you can give enough assurance that the developer would proceed or wouldn't proceed to remove the entire identified ecosystem. The houses, the 9 trees would be removed, and you'd have 25 trees that are effectively in his backyard that he could remove secretly, as has been previously noted, or however it would be done. And then I strongly repeat and sort of reinforce what everybody else has said in their uncertainty about or strict opposition to small replacement trees for especially this kind of tree community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Dr. Campos, the next caller, sir.
Hi, Allison. This is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer with the Board of Public Works. Caller ending in 3295. Allison, I went ahead and unmuted your microphone. You'll be given 2 minutes to provide your public testimony on item number 4. 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. Thank you for your patience. You can begin to speak now and just state your name before you start your testimony.
Hi, I am Allison Plessett, and I'm a resident of Elysian Heights. I am in opposition of the destruction of these 9 trees. The city of Los Angeles is blessed with a peaceful and beautiful hillside above the 5 freeway, the home to mature native protected trees, coastal oaks, and black walnuts. These trees help shield and filter the noise and air pollution from below. In this uncertain time of the COVID-19 global pandemic and its close correlation to air pollution, we need all of the help that these trees have been giving us. We don't have that many left, and they need our respect and protection. This area has recently become a traffic nightmare. The cars that were guided over Baxter Street by the driving apps are now mainly coming up Echo Park Avenue due to the placing of one-way and no-turn signs by the city. This area is now clogged with traffic. Where Echo Park crosses Landa, the streets are very twisty and narrow. One car at a time. This is already a very hazardous situation. Please take the needs of your constituents over that of an out-of-the-area developer who only sees dollar signs in this hill. Please do thorough traffic safety and environmental studies. Please do not allow the destruction of 9 protected native trees for the construction of a new road for only 2 very large and out-of-place homes. They are not in character with the surrounding area and neighborhood. Many of our residents enjoy this area for their walks. It is very special and deserves our respect. I am concerned that the removal of these trees, whose roots help keep up the hillsides, can also be dangerous to the surrounding properties. I have witnessed several mudslides in times of heavy rain over the years. This project needs to be scaled down to have a much lesser impact on the environment, hillside, and protected trees. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Allison.
Dr. Campos, the next caller, please. And thank you to all the callers with your commentary kept to the 2-minute time limit. It's very helpful. Thank you.
Next caller in the queue, phone number ending in 7294. Caller ending in 7294, your microphone has been unmuted. We will provide you 2 minutes to provide public testimony, commentary on item number 4. If you could begin with stating your name first, and we will give you a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up.
Thank you very much. My name is Mike Leifer. I'm counsel for Mr. Atayan, the applicant, and I appreciate
Sir,
the
one moment.
opportunity to
We'll
speak on
hold your
behalf of this
time.
project.
Sir, we'll hold your time for a moment. We'll start your time over again. I just need to get your counsel for the applicant. Could I get your name, please?
Give me 1 second. Go ahead.
Okay, sir, I'm sorry.
Did you hear me?
Well, yeah, we're holding your time. We're going to start your time over, but because you announced that you are counsel for the applicant, could I get your name, please?
Yeah, Mike Leifer, Leifer. Did you hear that?
L-E-Y?
L-E-I-F, like Frank, E-R.
Mr. Leifer. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. Go right ahead, sir. We'll start your time now.
Sure. Thank you very much. So what we have is an applicant who has worked with the city extensively over a long period of time for that culminates in this tree removal application. This project is a small infill project involving 2 modest-sized homes, one of 2,500 square feet and one of both about 2,500 square feet. They're 2-story homes, so they have small footprints, as small as possible in that area. And this is an infill site that the city has gone through and determined this project is similar in scope to the other existing homes in the area. It's zoned for this type of development. The city, in its January 10, 2019 notice of exemption analysis, went through these various issues as to the categorical exemption. After the categorical exemption was filed, there was no opposition and no objection to the CEQA categorical exemption. It appears that based upon the opposition now, there is very late filed opposition and other objections that are based upon kind of bigger pictures of issues involving what the city has decided to do in its operations versus, for example, other people that have other agendas that are different than what the city would like to say. I'd like to say one other thing. It seems like some of the other speakers are basing their comments on a biological survey that was done illegally on our property in April. There was no consent or notice that a biologist that is in affiliation with some of the objectors gained occupancy of our property and undertook a biological survey. So I would say, on the one hand, people are saying we want rights, and yet the biologist was violating rights to undertake the biological survey. We are here with other support staff on the project application team, including our arborist, and I invite any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Leifer, and thanks for keeping close to 2 minutes. And I've got to come back. Please stay on the line, as I know you will.
Sure.
I anticipate coming back to you for some additional response to some of the arguments that I expect we'll be hearing going forward. In addition to I know you started to address some of those a moment ago, but we'll come back to you as people that have been before the Board of Public Works know before. We typically don't put a time limit on our real parties and interests. The meetings are a bit different now, given the COVID crisis that we're working with and the structure of our meetings, but I do intend to come back to you for response and clarification.
Great, I'll be here.
All right, thank you. Dr. Campos, could you go to the next caller, please?
Yes, Mr. Leifer, I will go ahead and mute your microphone at this time. I will keep your hand raised also for easy access. Second to the last caller, we are now at caller ending in 4759. Caller ending in 4759. We went ahead and unmuted your microphone. Caller ending in 4759. You will be given 2 minutes to speak, a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. If you can begin your testimony on item number 4 with your name, and then your 2 minutes will begin.
Hello, my name is Ronald Cargill. I'm with the applicants team as well. I was involved with the city planning entitlements where we obtained approvals for a zoning administrator's determination for the project, and then filed the notice of determination based on the CEQA document that we were given from city planning. Essentially, the project is focused towards Twin Oak Street, which is the new access. Most of the property will be in out of our construction zone and will remain undisturbed. The primary disruption comes in bringing in and constructing the street access within the city's right-of-way. That affects several trees. So I'm available if there's additional questions, and I would defer to Mr. Leifer or to our landscape architects that were involved with preparation of the report.
All right, thank you, sir. Please stand by. Dr. Campos, did you say that that was the next to last?
That is correct. We have
okay, we have one more caller in the queue on this item. Go ahead, sir.
Last caller, phone number ending in 1760. Jamie, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. You will be given 2 minutes to speak, a 15-second warning before your 2 minutes are up. Caller ending in 1760, your microphone has been unmuted.
Good morning. My name is Jamie Hall. I'm an attorney with Channel Law Group representing Fellowship Heights Neighborhood Association. I have 2 things to discuss during this first 2-minute time. One is the CEQA compliance. We strongly disagree with the contention that this project is exempt from CEQA. We would note that in the letter that we submitted that the Board of Public Works as a responsible agency is not required to follow any environmental determination that a lead agency such as the Department of City Planning has made. And there's good reason you shouldn't in this case. One, there's significant new information related to the impacts associated with the project. And 2, there's been a change in the mitigation measures that the zoning administrator contemplated. He had contemplated there would be 48 replacement trees planted, and we now know that there's only going to be 21. And the other issue, with regard to the environmental determination, neither the Class 3 or the Class 32 exemption are applicable, and that's largely because the city misidentified the biological resource. Biological resource is a California live oak, California walnut woodland, which is a sensitive natural community, and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife has said that it has a rarity ranking and requires CEQA review. Notably, the mitigation for impacting a woodland is not based on replacing trees. It's based on the area. So if, say, for example, you displace 2,500 square feet of a woodland, you would need to find alternative habitat and mitigate in that way. And the California Department of Fish and Wildlife suggests a 5-to-1 ratio for that mitigation. And then secondly, on the non-CEQA stuff, we don't think there's been an adequate alternatives analysis to determine that.
15 seconds.
And the real thing, and I think the applicant's arborist mentioned it, is that the roadway design needs to be reassessed in this case because right now it's just being built out as per the standard specifications of the Bureau of Engineering, which is 20 feet wide. And if the roadway was narrowed and shortened, and then access for one of the houses was taken from Landa as opposed to Twin Oaks, you could save 3 of the largest oak trees. And so we think that there's more work to be done here in terms of evaluation of alternatives that could preserve some of the largest mature trees. I have a lot more to say, but I will rest with that. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, thank you. I have a Dr. Campos, before I start questioning a couple of our callers, do you have anybody else in the queue for this item?
We did, Mr. President. We did receive one last person that raised her hand right at the last, with the last public commentary. Would you like to consider that item?
Yes.
Or that individual? Caller ending in 1909. I will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. Caller ending in 1909. You'll be given 2 minutes to provide your public testimony on item number 4. Please state your name and then begin your commentary.
So last caller.
Last caller. Caller ending in 1909.
Hello. Am I being heard there?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Lou Bernstein. I live directly across the street at 1590 Landa. I've done so for over 10 years, so I know the area just about better than anybody else. Basically, my points are simple. First, I wanted to mention a story about how a crooked contractor, when I was a kid, bulldozed an 1800s farmhouse that was protected by the state. He changed the address, got a bulldozing permit, and got it done within 24 hours by changing the address. Now, how is it that these addresses are on Landa Street when in fact they're on Twin Oaks? You know, that doesn't make sense. And number two, among the trees marked for removal are the Twin Oaks themselves for which the street is named. And, you know, plenty of their offspring in this, it's a big clump of trees. They're holding up that entire hillside for years. You pull those trees, you'll end up with a hillside with the structural integrity of sandstone gravel because that's all that will remain. And three, there are no other houses that size in the vicinity that they propose to build. They'll stick out like, you know, the proverbial sore thumb. That's about all I have to say is, so thank you very much. I'm dyslexic and high up functioning autistic, so thank you for, you know, receiving me.
Thank you, sir, for the call. Let's go to, that's all for the callers. Mr. Hall, can you bring up Mr. Hall, Dr. Campos?
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Hall, would you speak to your argument in page 4 of your May 5th communication, May 4th communication yesterday, regarding the project is not exempt from CEQA as a Class 3 activity due to its location within the Santa Monica Mountains. One, just confirm your evidence regarding that the property falls within that area, and then two, your argument as to why it's not exempt within that area. And the reason I ask you for you just to take 2 minutes to do that is I'm going to ask Mr. Leifer, the counsel for the applicant, to respond to that. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. So the Class 3 exemption can't be used when a project is located in a particularly sensitive environment, specifically an environmental resource of hazardous or critical concern that's been designated, precisely mapped, and officially adopted. So in this case, we have a declaration from the state of California in the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Act, which was adopted in 1980, that specifically stated that the Santa Monica Mountain Zone is an environmental resource of critical concern. And so we have a letter from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy attesting to the fact that the project is located in the Santa Monica Mountain Zone. But it's actually a two-part test. It's not just enough to say you're in the zone. You have to then show a fair argument supported by substantial evidence that there may be a significant impact on the environment. And that's a really low threshold. There's no deference owed to the public agency. And so in this case, we actually have two expert reports that were commissioned. One was from Land Protection Partners, and you heard from Dr. Travis Longcourt, who's certainly well qualified, who has stated that this project is not just, it's actually a California live oak, California walnut woodland, which is a sensitive natural community. And replacing trees alone does not mitigate the impacts of to a woodland. And we know that from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. You have to replace the lost habitat, not just the lost trees. And so we think we've definitely met that fair argument standard. I forgot, what was your second question?
No, my question was related to your argument regarding the project is not exempt from CEQA due to its location. The only other thing I wanted you to confirm was that you have, I wanted a verbal confirmation from you on the record that you have confirmed that this property is within the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy Act in the Santa Monica Mountains Zone as defined in section 33105.
Yes, absolutely. I will confirm that. Attached as an exhibit to the letter from the Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy is a map showing the location of the parcel within the zone.
All right, that was exhibit 1.
Yes.
All right.
Exhibit 1 to the Santa Monica Mountain Conservancy letter.
Right, got it. So, Dr. Campos, would you move us from Mr. Hall to Mr. Leifer, please?
Mr. Leifer, your telephone line has been unmuted.
Mr. Leifer, could you respond to what's the applicant's position regarding the claim that the project is not exempt because of its location?
The project, based on the exhibit that I see, the Golden State Freeway is in the Santa Monica Mountains jurisdiction. A large swath of industrial buildings on the other side of the freeway are in the Santa Monica Mountains jurisdiction. There's all the houses of all the people that have spoken about this project are apparently on this map that was given to us today. I would also note that the Santa Monica Mountains letter that was provided to you today or yesterday that we received this morning mentions that city-owned public parkland abuts the parcels in question, and these trees could easily be planted on this land. So I don't agree with Mr. Hall on his argument on the notice of exemption that was filed and was completed and that was not objected to. I don't agree with that at all. I would also note that the city already found in the notice of exemption that these are 2 single-family dwellings in an area zoned and designated for such development. All adjacent lots are developed with single-family dwellings, and the subject site is of similar size and slope to nearby properties. The size of the proposed project includes 2,500 square foot single-family dwelling units per the baseline hillside ordinance. It is not unusual for the vicinity of the subject site and is similar in scope to other existing homes in the area. The city, in doing its analysis of the notice of exemption further, went on to find that according to the city Los Angeles mobility plan, the subject site is not designated as a scenic highway. It's not designated, there's no scenic highways located near the project site, and I've, on a number of occasions, been on the 5 near the project site, and that's not a scenic highway. It's not near a hazardous waste site as determined by the city. It's not near a historic resource by local or state agencies. It's not been determined to be eligible for listing in the National Register of Historical Places. And the city also determined that it is not a wildland area.
So, Mr. Leifer,
on the last page, it is not inhabited by endangered, rare, or threatened species.
All right, now you're just going through, I got it. You're going through a list of items.
Sorry.
Let me continue the conversation along. Regarding, you made your claim earlier, I don't want to misstate you. You're saying that the notice of exemption was not objected to some time back, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. What was the date of that? Was it 2018, 2019?
It was 2019, and the statute of limitations on the notice of exemption is late April 2019.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Leifer. This is the one issue I would like Mr. Hall to respond to, and then I've got a thought to put on the record, and I'll go to my colleagues for any questions they may have. Dr. Campos, could you move us from Mr. Leifer back to Mr. Hall?
Absolutely. Mr.
Thank
Hall,
you,
your microphone
President
is
James. On that topic, so first of all, both with EIRs and negative declarations, there's specific procedures in the CEQA guidelines that outline circumstances that might require supplemental or subsequent environmental reviews. And the most common situation is when there is significant new information that comes to light, or a change in the mitigation measures. In this case, we didn't actually have any environmental review. And so we had an exemption. So the CEB practice guide, which is the lead practice guide for environmental law, specifically says that a responsible agency is not required to follow the determination of a lead agency with regard to environmental review when there's an exemption. So if we have a situation where we know that when there is environmental review, that there are circumstances that could trigger a subsequent analysis, I see no good reason for the board not to use its independent judgment to conclude that there are circumstances that require a reassessment of the environmental review based on the new information, and there's been a change of the mitigation measures. The zoning administrator specifically said that 48 trees were going to be replanted. And so when we get the staff report here, it shows that there's actually going to be 21 replacement trees, and the remainder are going to be donated to the Department of Parks and Recreation. So that's a change in mitigation measure, and we have submitted evidence that shows that the city's had, and I say that very respectfully, the city's had a difficult time figuring out how to actually plant donated trees. And in fact, we've stopped doing that. This is the first time I've seen this in a long time. So I think that there's definitely room for the board to use its independent judgment to determine that there are circumstances here that require a reassessment of the environmental clearance document.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Hall. Colleagues, I want to tell you kind of where I am right now on this item, and then welcome your questions. And I see Commissioner Garcia has questions as well, of course. I have two issues that I would like our city attorney's office to provide advice to us on. And they're the two issues that I've put on the record right now, so it will be no surprise to anyone. The first issue is the position raised by Mr. Hall regarding the project not being exempt due to its location in the Santa Monica Mountains, in the Santa Monica Mountains zone. This is an issue that you may recall in the tree removals that we've had with this kind of similar argument in prior hearings that I have been concerned with for some years now. So I would like, I'm going to ask for this to be put over, as frustrating as that might be for everyone, because as you've also heard me say over and over the years, my goal here, one of my goals, is to get the right answer and to get the right decision. But it's also to do that in the avoidance of litigation, if at all possible, because that's expensive and time-consuming for everyone. And we'd like to try and find a way to avoid that. So that's why I would like advice to us from the city attorney's office based on Mr. Hall's argument regarding the location and the Santa Monica Mountains zone. Secondly, the other issue is Mr. Leifer's argument regarding what is a statute of limitations argument, in effect, regarding the notice of exemption that was submitted in 2019. And that's an issue that we've heard. On both issues, we've heard arguments from both sides. So that's where I would be asking for 30 days for Mr. Jordan's team and the CEQA team to sit down with me over the phone and to go over some of my questions and issues here. Commissioner Garcia, I saw your hand first, so we'll go to you.
I'm going to be very honest, President James. I was moving around my camera, but I do have questions, and I do have some concerns.
Go ahead.
Did I hear correctly, and I was trying to look for it on the board, that we did not have an environmental impact report done on this site?
Mr. Benuelos, I mean, we can answer that. It was categorically exempt.
Got it. I just
that
wanted
was
to
that was the
confirm
claim that was made. Mr. Jordan, do you want to chime in and add anything to what I just said?
No, the project staff has recommended that the board find that this project is exempt for CEQA, the reasons stated, and essentially the same reasons that the city's zoning administrator over a year ago found it was exempt, with significantly more detail in the ZA's process as use of the categorical exemption.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia, does that satisfy your first question?
Yes, to a certain extent, yes. Given that we have a little more time, I know that a couple of points of concern were if we were to uproot that place and how will the hillside keep up? I know that we probably don't have an answer for that right now, but that's interesting to me because I've always lived on a hillside, so I understand what that is like. So I just don't know if there's official response to if you take out all these trees, would that damage the hillside when there's big rains or anything natural that way?
I would mention, Commissioner Garcia, to that question. That's a question that I know that we have representatives from both sides listening in. When we have a subsequent hearing and we get the legal questions answered, we'll have them and their experts address the hillside question that you've put on the record right now.
Thank you, President James. I appreciate that. And lastly, one second, I wrote all this down. Oh, there was also a concern about some wildlife using that area as food and shelter. So I don't know if that's also part of the impact, or if, again, can we get some kind of clarification on that? I did go online and I did a Google search on it. It's a hillside, definitely in an area that's very full of trees, and I could see how there's a lot of need to preserve that area as well. And so my last point, and I understand I won't get an answer, is there a way, since we, the city, the planning department, are designing to open a new street there, is there a way that this can be done without doing that? I saw other homes being closer to that street and closer to the, Landa Street. I don't know if we can do something that's closer. I know that that's a different design, but it would really mitigate all the situation. Those were my points of concern. I know we don't have any clarification right now, but I wait for the 30 days.
Well, what you've done, Commissioner Garcia, thank you, is made a record of what we will cover once we get the legal questions answered. In our next hearing, we'll have answers from both sides on that issue, and that prevents the element of surprise the day before a hearing, because we're stating now what the issues are that are going to be discussed.
Thank you,
Thank
President.
you. Commissioner Villegas, any questions?
Thank you. I think between President James and Commissioner Garcia, you've asked some of the similar questions that I had. I think that as our city attorney looks into the whole exemption in the Santa Monica zone, we'll get some clarification. I do know, just by way of background on my work in the past, that Santa Monica Mountains Conservancy has done several extensive studies on the various hillsides in the east side, and this is one of them. So it would be good to be able to either just rectify or put some clarification on that information. And then I would also want to know how an exemption like this, how does it infer or how does it coalesce or interface with our hillside ordinance? Seeing that our either like our planning department and our other bureaus are seeing this as potential housing. That is all.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Commissioner Davis.
Yes, sir. I just had a couple of questions trying to get some clarity in terms of where the developer's position is on a couple of items. And I think I understood what the complainants were saying through their counsel. But I wanted to ask Mr. Leifer, I think that's correct. It was mentioned that this area was considered an area of critical concern. And I just wanted to know, did the developer embrace that as fact or believe that in fact it is an area of critical concern? And it was mentioned to me, and unfortunately right now I'm not and have not seen section 33105, but it was mentioned that in fact they felt that this was an area of critical concern. Does the developer agree with that or disagree with that?
Mr. Leifer.
Well, I know that sorry.
Go ahead, Mr. Leifer.
Mike Leifer.
Is it Leifer or Leifer?
We pronounce it Leifer.
Okay.
The actress Carol Leifer pronounces it Leifer, but, we pronounce it Leifer. Anyway, we believe the exemption was appropriate. We went through the zoning process for a lengthy process. We came to urban forestry staff. We went through this process with urban forestry staff. We do not believe that this area is an area of critical concern. However, we hired highly qualified arborists to undertake studies, and I'm sure that you have available to you their studies, and I believe Allison, one of the arborist team, has raised her hand or can raise her hand to address what she did in terms of the arborist study. I think you're also asking me about the biologist that apparently entered onto our property illegally in April. And, sir, that biologist, without asking us, without consent from us, without even giving us a phone call saying he'd like to go out, apparently went out on our property, and he says he did a rapid biological assessment. Whatever that means, that to me is, the way I look at it is he entered onto our property illegally, and now he's being used by others to say we want some kind of right to that property. And in our current legal and political era, I think entering onto a property illegally to do a study and to come out with a memo on April 7th and hold it until May 4 without giving us notice or without us being there watching him, I think that's totally inappropriate. So whatever Mr. Cooper said he saw when he did a rapid assessment, we weren't there, and until this morning I hadn't seen it. And so I just would like to say that if he thought that his study was of that much merit, he might have asked us, and he might have told us that he wanted to go out there, and we might have been able to be there to watch what he was studying.
I hear you, Mr. Leifer. You think that this is kind of similar to fruit of the poison tree. They went in illegally, and so the outcome of what they got illegally doesn't really have appropriate impact in a hearing such as this because they went in illegally. I get that. I just wanted to ask the question to be clear on what your position was, in as much as I've been told in the discussion here that the Santa Monica Conservancy has declared this an area of critical concern. So I just wanted to understand, and what I do understand from your recent remarks is that you disagree with that. Now, this final issue I wanted to get some clarity on has to do with the complainant stating that one of the reasons where there is a need for getting a CEQA review is, in fact, if in fact there was some displacement of lost habitat. And to that end, it has been mentioned in the testimony before us today that this is an area which has habitat that include birds, bobcats, butterflies, caterpillars, and even owls. Do you have knowledge of, or do you agree or disagree with, in fact, that such habitat exists in the area?
I am sure that there's animal and birds that are living on other people's house properties in the area, and we really don't have a biologist to address this issue because this issue had not been raised. So I don't want to get...
So would it be fair to say that we really don't know if this is true or not? Would that be fair?
I think that from a legal perspective and a CEQA process perspective, this should have been raised during the time period of the notice of exemption. And I also would say, I also would defer to the city staff, where the city staff made findings with regard to the notice of exemption, that this was, let me switch to that, it was not a wildland area. I'm looking at the final page where the city says it's not a wildland area. This is adjacent to other single-family dwellings. And sir, I'm sure there's hawks and owls living on properties adjacent to the other single-family dwellings. My understanding also is many of the trees on these sites are going to be retained. The reason why the numbers of the replacement trees get relatively large, my understanding is because the city has requirements that there's a multiple of replacement trees that are required. So this is private property. It is in an infilled area. The city says in its notice of exemption that if it's developed on an infill site and meets the conditions, that it is considered categorically exempt. Here it is. No more than 5 acres. This is about 20,000 square foot site. The project site has no value as habitat for
Mr. Lightfoot, we're going to need to
rare,
put some
threatened
time
species.
limits on the question answers too. So just focus on would you wrap up in the next 60 seconds on answering the question?
Yeah, so I wanted to put things like, if I can
Yes, sir.
paraphrase what I thought I heard you say, I think that we really don't know if, in fact, these habitat exist there or not at this point. And I'm just really not trying to get you in gold on these answers, but get a very clear indication of what your position is based upon these two things that were said for my own knowledge. And so based upon what I think I heard you say, we don't really, from your position that is, really know about the habitat in the area as of yet. Now, I wanted to find this out as a commissioner so I could get a clearer indication, understanding what I'm hearing the complainant say on one hand. I wanted to counter that with a clear knowledge of where you were on those particular items on the other hand. Let me just wrap up by simply saying that I do support the president's request of a motion to consider more time. Based upon what I've heard with regard to this particular motion, I think we could all move towards a resolution in taking more time to get more information so that we can have an agreement based upon more information and facts. So, Mr. President, that's where I'm at in terms of this issue. And I do support if you make this motion for more time, and I do feel that it's appropriate in this circumstance. Thank you so much, Mr. Leifer.
Thank you,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Leifer. Thank you, Commissioner Davis. I would mention for everyone going forward today, and I know we have people that are listening on other items, because it's easier for us to manage the meeting when we're all in the same room, because when we ask a question, we are going to have Dr. Campos time the answers to 90 seconds per answer, so we can keep it moving. The speakers can speak for 2 minutes, answering questions 90 seconds per answer, and then if we need follow-up, we'll do that as well. Commissioner Villegas, you have your hand up?
I apologize, I'll put it down.
Okay, thank you. So without objection, Commissioner Garcia, you're good?
Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Campos, what is a month from today, June 5th or 4th or 6th? What does that look like?
So June 5th would be Friday, so Friday, June 5th, or we can do Tuesday, June 2nd.
So let me ask Mr. Leifer and Mr. Hall, are you both available to be part of another, what I anticipate will be another hearing like this on Zoom on Friday, which is June the 6th? Is that right, Dr. Campos, or the 5th?
Friday, June 5th.
Friday, June 5th. We'll start with Mr. Leifer. Are you available Friday, June 5th?
I'll make myself available, sir. Yes.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Hall?
Yes, I'm available.
All right, thank you. So, colleagues, without objection, and by the way, Mr. Leifer, Mr. Hall, I know you've got, this meeting is being recorded. You can go back and listen to it. The issues have been framed for what we're going to discuss towards resolution on June 5th, Friday, June 5th, a month from today. So thank you all for your work and participation on this. Mr. Jordan, yes.
Yes, I just want to clarify what you've asked me to take a look at. Specifically, two issues. One is the use of the location, the applicability of the argument for the location exception for the use of a categorical exemption as laid out in Mr. Hall's letter, specifically dealing with the Santa Monica Mountains zone.
Yep.
And then the second issue was the applicability of, as requested by Mr. Leifer. So in connection with the statute of limitations arising out of the March 4th, 2019 recording of the notice of exemption following the ZA determination.
You're correct.
So those two issues.
Those are the two issues for you. I know we have other issues for others regarding the hillside slippage and stuff like that, but those are the two issues for you.
Okay. I may also be taking a look at the applicability of the exemption in Los Angeles Municipal Code 46.02, subsection A2.
Okay.
That's an exemption that says that the Board of Public Works permit is not required when there has already been a determination by the zoning administrator. So we're taking a careful look at that as well.
Okay. Thank you. So now both sides, Mr. Leifer, Mr. Hall, you've heard that from Mr. Jordan, so that's something that we'll be discussing on June the 5th as well.
And I'll expect them to be prepared to talk about that as well.
All right. Thank you, sir. So with that, no one else with their hands up on from the city side. So Mr. Benuelos, thank you, sir. That'll be the order on agenda item whatever number this one was.
4.
Number 4. Thank you. We just continue along. Hopefully we'll get to a resolution on June 5th. Let's go to agenda item now, number 6. This item has been continued a few times because of its complicated nature and all of the parties involved, and an attempt by all of the parties to come to a resolution that was workable. And I appreciate all the hard work that's gone into this. really from everybody. So let me read I'll read the item in as it's listed in the agenda. Again, as you heard me do a moment ago with agenda item number 4, with agenda item number 6, we'll read the item into the record. Then Dr. Campos will determine how many people we have in the queue that would like to speak on the item. So you'll need to raise your hand by pressing *9 so he can get a count. Then we will hear from Mr. Tanagiri. Once we know how many people, then we'll hear from Mr. Tanagiri, who will explain where we are. And then from there, we will hear from our callers. And just in the interest of time, everyone, since we've had this hearing now 1, 2, 3 times, we need the goal will be to wrap this one for everybody by 2 p.m. If earlier, great, but we need to move this one on by 2 p.m. So let me call the item. Agenda item number 6, Council District number 4. Revocable permit, encroachment in public right-of-way, retaining walls, concrete steps and patio, West Pacific View Drive. Recommending that the board first deny the subject request for revocable permission to encroach into the public right-of-way. Secondly, require that the applicant obtain a Construction A permit to remove the encroachments from the public way. 3, transmit a copy of the report to Mr. Adam Storer, the property owner, 6830 West Pacific View Drive, LA 90068. 4, transmit a copy of the report to the following departments and bureaus: Building and Safety, Bureau of Engineering, Street Services, and Department of Water and Power. All their names and addresses are listed there. So anyone that is on the queue for agenda item number 6 to speak, would you please signal that by pressing *9 so Dr. Campos can get a count. Dr. Campos, I'll give you 1 minute to do that. I'll be right back.
Good morning, everyone, members of the general public. This is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The board is now going to take public commentary on item number 6 on today's Board of Public Works agenda for the revocable permit on West Pacific View Drive. If you'd like to make any public comment at this time, can you please press *9 to raise your hand? Members of the general public that would like to make commentary on item number 6 for today's Board of Public Works agenda, can you please press 9 to raise your hand? One more call for item number 6 on today's Board of Public Works agenda. If you'd like to make any public commentary or provide any testimony on item number 6 for today's Board of Public Works meeting, if you can press *9 if you're dialing in, *9 to raise your hand. Thank you, everyone. We will go ahead and do a last call for this item number 6 for any commentary. Please raise your hand by pressing *9. Great, thank you, everyone. We will go ahead and close the call for any commentary. At this time, we do have 2 callers on the line that would like to make commentary on item number 6. We will begin to take those commentaries in the next few minutes. Great, thank you, everyone. Mr. President, we do have 2 callers on the line that would like to provide testimony on item number 6, public commentary on item number 6.
That's 2?
2.
Only 2. Okay. So, Mr. Tanagiri, are you available, sir?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon.
Good to see
hope
you,
everyone's
Wes.
doing well. Wesley Tanagiri, Bureau of Engineering, Valley District Office. I've submitted supplemental report number 2, which is an update regarding the existing encroachments which include a concrete patio, walls, and landscaping within the unimproved right-of-way of Valleyton Trail just north of Pacific View Drive. And I also included transmittal number 12. So that's the transmittal and sketch that I'll be referring to. As you may recall, Mr. and Mrs. Storr, the property owners of 6830 Pacific View Drive, submitted a request for a revocable permit for the existing encroachments. Other issues that were involved with this project included Mr. Cohen's new development at 6846 Pacific View Drive, which is across the right-of-way of Valleyton Trail. The conditions for his project to construct a new single-family dwelling included the dedication of an 8-foot public right-of-way along Valleyton Trail. This dedication would allow for space for Mr. Sachs at 6009 Vista Crest Drive to maintain his septic tank. In lieu of highway dedication, Mr. Cohen was also given the option to provide a new sewer facility along Valleyton Trail. That was done as part of the discussions with the ZAD with the city planning. On April 9th, my office held a video conference meeting with Mr. Cohen, Ben and Natasha Rodriguez, LA Building and Safety, and Shania Premium of my staff to discuss the requirements for 6846 Pacific View Drive. We agreed to allow an 8-foot sanitary sewer and 8-foot sidewalk easement along Valleyton Trail in lieu of the 8-foot highway dedication. This would allow Mr. Cohen to move forward with his project to get certificate of occupancy, while also providing an 8-foot clear space to allow Mr. Sachs to maintain his septic tank. During this meeting, Mr. Cohen was provided a list of requirements that he needed to complete before he can obtain his certificate of occupancy for his new single-family dwelling. The list included, but is not limited to, the removal of an existing gate crossing Valleyton Trail at Pacific View Drive, and always providing a 8-foot clear space along Valleyton Trail. Our office believes that allowing Mr. Cohen to provide an 8-foot easement in lieu of an 8-foot dedication of public right-of-way will address most of the main issues involved with this project. It is also the least disruptive to the neighborhood and least expensive alternative that was previously presented to the board. If the board determines to allow the existing encroachments relative to 6830 Pacific View Drive to remain, Mr. and Mrs. Storr will be issued a revocable permit once the remaining conditions of their application are completed. And a few of those conditions include a waiver of damages and proof of liability insurance, which is normally fulfilled by a standard homeowner's insurance. I can answer any questions of anybody.
Well, Mr. Tanageri, so thank you for the work on this. Thank you for the summary and making it understandable. Let's go to let's see who we have on the line. If we have the Storrs and Mr. Sachs or Mr. Cohen. Let's go ahead and take our, we'll start with 2 minutes depending on who it is, and we'll deal with it accordingly.
Great, thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. I will go ahead and open up the line to caller user 5. Call-in user 5, I will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. Caller.
Hello, this is Namalka Wickermasaker and Adam Storr, the owners of 6830 Pacific View Drive. Good afternoon, Commissioners. We just wanted to let everyone know that we're available to answer any questions. We'd like to thank Mr. Tanageri as well. We think that he and his team did a lot of work to come up with a proposal that works for everyone and solves the problems in the least disruptive manner. So we're very, very appreciative of that. We did see some last-minute comments regarding holding up the permit until certain work is done on the neighboring property to the satisfaction of Mr. Sachs. We're not generally in support of that. I think that just continues to delay things. and that each property permit and issue should be resolved in and of itself. And then we also saw another comment from Mr. Sachs requesting that the street be marked with a public street sign. We think that we're not in support of that. We think that's going to create liability issues, because unless this is actually maintained as a public street in accordance with all necessary requirements, we think that this may invite some potential problems with people moving on to private property, thinking that they're on public land. So with that, I think that we're available to answer any questions, but that is all that we wanted to say. So thank you, especially to Mr. Tanagiri, for his work.
Thank you, ma'am. So can I call you the Storrs again?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. So can I just confirm with you that you and your husband are in agreement with the proposal that was described just a few minutes ago by Mr. Tanagiri?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Campos, can we go to stay on the line, of course. We'll come back if we have further questions. Dr. Campos, can you go to the next caller, please?
Absolutely. Next caller on the line, caller ending in 4544. Caller ending in 4544. We will go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time. You'll be given 2 minutes to provide your public commentary and a 15-second warning before that time has expired. Caller ending in 4544, if you could begin your commentary and state your name, please.
Hi, thank you. This is Stephen Sachs. I'm also available to answer any questions. I hope you all did see my last memo. As the Storrs just said, my only concern is that this whole plan hinges on Edward Cohen fulfilling his obligations. And in my interactions with him going back to 2013, he has not once fulfilled the commitments that he's made to me. So I'm concerned that this permit, if this permit is granted today and he changes his mind again, I will be back to square one. So I hope you'll take that into consideration when deciding how to resolve this.
Okay. Mr. Sachs, can you hold on a moment, please?
Sure.
Okay. Dr. Kemps, can you put him on hold?
Yes.
1 moment. So what I'd like to do before I go to my colleagues for further questions is Mr. Tanagiri, would you, and I want Mr. Jordan to listen, as he always does, but just so you know, Mr. Jordan, I'm going to come back to you with a question regarding your opinion on the viability of what's on the table, and then I'll go to my colleagues for questions. Mr. Tanagiri, would you please once again, we've heard from both sides, would you please once again summarize what's on the table as the proposal that we've heard from the callers about, that you had already summarized again, just so we have the record clear, and I'll get Mr. Jordan to give a thumbs up or thumbs down accordingly, and then we'll go to further questions.
Yes, of course. So I'm going to be referring to, again, transmittal number 12, which is showing that 6846 Pacific View Drive, which is Mr. Cohen's property, to dedicate an 8-foot sewer and sidewalk easement along Valleyton Trail. That's where the hatched area is shown along Valleyton Trail. And that is in lieu of the original 8-foot highway dedication, so they're a little different. Dedicating an easement allows Mr. Cohen to keep his private property up to where that original Valleyton Trail property line is located, which aids him in his completion for his C of O for his new single-family dwelling. So doing that also will not require him to build any new sewer facilities, except for the work that would be done would be for him to remove the gate that is crossing Valleyton Trail at Pacific View Drive. The only other small things involved would be there are other requirements and conditions associated with his building permit that he still needs to complete, but those all need to be completed prior to his certificate of occupancy. And last note, the easements have to be kept clear and open with no obstructions. So that's basically what's going on with this revised alternative.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan. Any thoughts, commentaries? You like it? You're concerned about it?
I agree with the recommendations. I concur in that. DOE's worked very hard to put this together.
I hear you on that. Thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. I don't have any questions, but just wanted to echo the same sentiment to Mr. Tangeri and the Valley team for all their hard work in coming to, what they put here in the board report, the least disruptive alternative, which I thought was the best way to describe the proposal in front of us to make as many people happy with some of the issues that were brought before us in the different hearings, and thank everyone involved for all their time and for joining us for all these hearings. So just glad that there was a resolution to this. Hopefully after this, after we vote on this, and so that we can finally conclude this item. So thank you, Mr. Tangeri.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, President James. I really don't have questions either. I just want to thank, obviously, Wesley, VOE team. Wesley, thank you for, even though this was like really hard and getting all the folks together and making this work, you found a way to mitigate it in the best way for everybody involved and still adhering to our city requirements. So thank you for that. And I also like the fact that we were able to give Mr. Cohen a path to obtain his certificate of occupancy. Obviously, he has to go through his own process for that, but I'm happy that along the way, you also found a way to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Davis, any questions or commentary?
I would like to thank Mr. Tangerini and our Valley staff and all of those who helped to put together this resolution. Your work, your outstanding work in this matter is greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Villegas.
Thank you. Thanks, President James, and thanks, Wesley, for all your hard work on this. I know it was not easy, and thanks also to the stores and to Mr. Cohen and Mr. Sachs. I know that we didn't necessarily make Mr. Sachs completely happy, but it seems like we are on a path for the stores as well, just to get them get their issues addressed and then get to the occupancy for the house that Mr. Cohen had built, I think a little over a year ago, or probably a little longer. So this was a really hard work, and I was, just monitoring this closely. So I really appreciate you taking the time and taking cost under consideration as well. Just being a landowner and a homeowner, everything costs money, and raising a family and doing all that and just living in Los Angeles. So I really understand and appreciate your sensitivity to that. I echo the sentiments of my fellow commissioners as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Villegas. Mr. Tanageri, one question for you before I put a motion on the record. Given the, Mr. Tanageri, there you are. Given the comments, concerns that you've dealt with in the past few weeks, reaching this conclusion, the conclusion you put on the record today is still the one that you recommend, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Then that would be my order, Dr. Campos. As described by Mr. Tanageri, that's the the resolution to this item. Regarding the, I guess what's the proper way to get it on the record? Can't we use what was described by Mr. Tanagiri? Yes, Mr. Tanagiri.
So I believe the main question that needs to be answered by the board is whether to allow the encroachments for 6830 Pacific View Drive, to allow them to remain. And then all these other issues were a side issue to that question.
Right. But what's the Bureau's recommendation on that on the record?
So I mentioned this earlier. The original recommendation on the original board report was to deny, because normally we don't allow encroachments to cross over the center lines.
But haven't we revised that now, given these other conditions?
We can change it, but that is the reason why we bring it to the board, is because we normally would not, even if there was no opposition, we would not allow the encroachment to cross the center line. So that's why we would ask the board to make that decision to allow encroachments to cross the center lines, even if there's no opposition.
Okay, understood. Mr. Jordan, do I have the authority to make a motion that we allow the encroachment? Do we have that authority based on the parameters that have been put in place by the engineering?
Yeah, I'm looking at the report now. I think you could move to grant or authorize the Bureau of Engineering to grant the request for the revocable permit. That granting of the revocable permit, once accomplished, there's insurance and all of the other things are done. That is what allows the encroachments to remain, unless I'm misunderstanding the revocable permit application that was filed. But Wesley can address that. So bottom line is, I think you'd have the ability to simply grant the revocable permit. And that takes care of
that would be the motion that I would make, Mr. Tanagiri. Does that square with what you're asking us to do in connection with the other parameters that engineering has worked so hard to bring this afternoon?
Yes, that would satisfy our work on moving forward with the revocable permit for the stores.
Okay, then that's my motion, seconded by Commissioner Caloza and by Commissioners Garcia and Villegas. Any objection? And Commissioner Davis, so that'll be the order. So without objection, any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send that forthwith. To the stores, Mr. Sachs, Mr. Cohen, thank you all for all of your work and time on this, and having an open mind and working with engineering. Mr. Tanagiri, thank you for leading this effort, and thank you to your team at engineering. So the item is, yes, Dr. Campos.
Mr. President, just one point of clarification. This board just adopted the granting of the request for the revocable permission to encroach in the public right-of-way and approve the proposed encroachments along the center line, in addition to supplemental report number 12, which Mr. Tanagiri highlighted in his testimony, the 5 bullet points that are listed there. The only thing pending for me is on recommendation number 2, which is to require that the applicant obtain a construction A permit to remove the encroachments from the public right-of-way.
That would not be necessary,
that would be
correct?
stricken out from the record. Just want to get clarity on that.
That's stricken. Correct, Mr. Tanagiri?
Yes, that is correct.
Great.
That one's stricken.
Thank
so
you
you have it.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. So that's the order as amended. Thank you, everyone. Moving to now agenda item number 5. Let me find my sheet. Okay. Dr. Campos, this is all we have left on the items today, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Mr. Banuelos, you've stuck in the whole time here. Let's go to Council District 13. Again, tree removal, 5620 DeLong Prairie Avenue. I'll read through the agenda item, and then we will find out if we have anybody in the queue on number 5. Then we'll hear from Mr. Banuelos and use the same process we have for these other 2 items. Agenda item number 5, recommending that the board first Find under the California Public Resources Code, Section 21166, and the state's Environmental Quality Act Guidelines, Section 15162, on the basis of substantial evidence contained in the whole record, that since the city's prior certification of the EIR, there have been no changes to the project, changes with respect to the circumstances under which the project is being undertaken, or new information of substantial importance concerning the project, which caused new significant environmental effects, or a substantial increase in the severity of previously identified significant effects, and therefore no subsequent EIR, supplemental EIR, or other analysis is required for the project. Secondly, specify that street services at Streets LA, Urban Forestry Division, located at 1149 South Broadway, is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. Third, review and approve the request for a fee permit for the removal of 6 trees. These are 2 ficus trees, which are Indian laurel fig trees, and 4 American sweet gum trees. These are not protected trees. Tree replacements are required. And 4, concur with Streets LA's determination that the site cannot feasibly accommodate all of the required replacement trees, and pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 62.177C, authorize the tree replacement guarantee fee to satisfy the board's tree planting requirement. This had been continued really just on meeting availability and procedural grounds. So, Dr. Campos, would you check how many people we have in the queue, if any, on agenda item number 5?
Absolutely. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 5. If you'd like to make any public commentary on item number 5, this is a tree removal on Longpree Avenue. Can you please press star 9 to raise your hand? Again, item number 5, the Board of Public Works is now considering public commentary on item number 5. If you'd like to make a public comment, if you can please press star 9 to raise your hand, that would be great. Thank you, Shane. I see your hand raised. Last and final call on item number 5. This is a tree removal on Longpree Avenue. The Board of Public Works is now considering public commentary on item number 5. If you'd like to make any public comments, please press star 9 at this time. Mr. President, I do have one caller on the line, Mr. Shane McCullough from Holland Construction. And we only have
go ahead.
One caller only.
Go ahead with the caller. Oh, actually, before we do that, we're going to call Mr. Banuelos first. Mr. Banuelos, would you give us a summary on agenda item number 5, then we'll go to our caller?
Yes. Good afternoon, President James, Commissioners. Hector Banuelos with the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division. We have a request to remove 6 trees, which include 4 American sweet gum and 2 Indian laurel fig trees at 5620 Longpree Avenue. That's at the southwest corner of St. Andrews Place in Council District 13. The applicant here is constructing or proposing construction of an 185-unit residential apartment complex. And in order to construct, the applicant is indicated that he needs to utilize the street area for material staging and materials and other apparatus needed to construct the 8-story complex. The trees in question, well, there's 4 American sweet gums. They're not in greatest shape. They're in declining. 3 of the 4 are in declining state and actually almost dead. The 1 remaining American elm is in fair condition, but is a relatively small tree. Then you have the 2 Indian laurel fig trees, which are mature, large trees, located towards the corner of St. Andrews Place. The Streets LA posted the trees on December 12th, 2019. If approved, the applicant shall replant, there's room to replant their 7 24-inch box-size African fern pines and 1 24-inch box-size Australian willow tree at the location. The 4 trees remaining to complete the 2-to-1 will be paid for for the tree planting guarantee fee. The Council District 13, the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and the Community Forestry Advisory Committee were informed of the tree removal permit request. The council office is not in support of the project, and they do have objections to the removal of the Indian laurel fig trees.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Banuelos. Let's go to our caller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. I will go ahead and dial in the caller. Caller ending in 5211, Shane McCullough from Halling Construction. I will go ahead and unmute your telephone at this time, your line. You will have 2 minutes to provide your public testimony, commentary. I will give you a 15-second warning before the 2 minutes are up. We did receive your photos also submitted via email, and those have been distributed to the commissioners.
Excellent. Thank you all for your time. As introduced, I represent Holland Construction. We are the general contracting arm of Holland Partner Group, real estate developer. And making myself available, I was an active member in the call 2 weeks prior, but unfortunately unable to connect to the audience to respond to questions at that time. So I am making myself available to clarify our request, to emphasize the importance of the removal of this particular, the two large ficus trees, given their location and the impact to the job site logistics. So I just wanted to thank everyone for their time, and again, make myself available if there are any questions from the board.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Garcia, why don't we go to you regarding this item for your questions?
Sure. Thank you, President James. Hector, point of clarification on your very last report that you said, did you say, and I might not have heard you right, did you say that the council does not approve of this project? Or just of the removing the two ficus trees that are in question?
They weren't in support of the project. They really weren't opposed to the project in of itself, but they were opposed to the removal of the trees. I did communicate with one of the deputies and did indicate to him that one of the ficus trees happened to be almost smack in the middle of a driveway. And so for that reason, that one Indian laurel fig tree must be removed. The one tree furthest to the corner of St. Andrews, that one is outside of the footprint of the driveway. However, the applicant has indicated that they need to remove the tree because it's going to be severely affected by the ongoing construction and scaffolding that must be erected there to complete the project.
And I know that from the last hearing, we asked if there was a way to figure out how to at least save that one tree that would technically be removed only for a temporary situation. That's the one that at least for sure I'm opposed to. Did we resolve that? Or did we get any type of new design or a mitigation situation to that?
No, there is no new design that I'm aware of. Nothing was forwarded to me anyways. I did speak with the applicant to raise your concerns with him. He's on the phone right now, I believe. He can probably better elaborate a little more why they why they need to have that tree removed in order for them to construct their project.
Sure. I'm open to that, but I do want to state that I still strongly feel that I don't want to remove the very last tree for a temporary situation. As opposed, I understand the other tree that's in the middle of the driveway. I'm not happy about that, but it is actually for something permanent and for usage of the apartment complex, which brings me to the other, and this has nothing to do with what we're doing here, but it doesn't sound like this project is community friendly at this point. I haven't heard of any like lower income apartments or somehow is there a community benefit to this project coming on board? Those would be my two big questions. And it has nothing to do with us resolving this because at the end of the day, I still want to see how we can at least save that one tree. And the only reason I'm making a big deal about that is because it's for staging. It's for staging your construction and then you leave and you're going to leave that place without a tree. And how are you going to fix that? You're going to put now a small tree that's probably 24 inches or 36 inches as opposed to this beautiful tree that's there. So I still stand on that. I don't know how it can move forward. If it moves forward, great. But for the record, I want to say that I still object to that.
So just so I'm clear, Commissioner Garcia.
Yeah, we always look to save the trees whenever we can, whenever possible. But in meetings with the developer, they're adamant that the tree needs to be removed. That's going to be obstructing the hoisting and all the other construction activities that are occurring there at the project. But like I said, the applicant's representative is on the line right now. He could probably better elaborate as the reasons and Ravi on the reasons why one tree is going to be severely impacted and need to be removed.
Sure.
So, Commissioner Garcia, just so I'm clear, your concern on this tree removal request is just for the one tree that's being moved, well, it's being removed for temporary staging, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so, but for that tree, you would be okay going forward granting the rest of the tree removal permit?
I am, because the rest at least are for a permanent situation. We're not just going to allow a beautiful tree to be removed just because they need to put their items there. And I know that it's not just items, it's cranes and so much more to it, but that's where I stand.
Okay. Thank you. Understood. Commissioner Villegas, any questions or comments from you?
I am good, thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Davis. And by the way, I'm going to go to the representative of the applicant to respond to the staging issue because we didn't have their availability last time, so that's why we're back here today. But I wanted to go through all of our colleagues and give them an opportunity to add any other questions to the pool that they would like. Commissioner Davis.
None at this time, but come back to me before we conclude.
I will do that. Commissioner Caloza.
I don't have any specific questions right now, but just wanted to add additional clarification from the council office's official position on this. If I can just read the email just so it's clear. But it says here, Council District 13 remains neutral on this project. And then they followed up with an email just saying that the removal of 2 mature trees for the purposes of establishing a construction laydown area is not good policy. So I take that as, they're not against moving forward on this project. Just wanted to make that very clear, but that the general policy of the 1 tree removal seems like also what they are commenting on. And so I just wanted to add that and make it more clear, but it would be really good to hear next from the applicant.
Thank you for the clarification, Commissioner Caloza. I think we're down to the 1 tree on the staging, but we'll confirm that. So, Dr. Campos, would you open the line of the representative for the applicant, sir? And we'll need to get his name again.
Absolutely.
Yes, of course. Again, this is Shane McCullough with Holland Construction. I did want to clarify for everyone that is participating today that the tree that is to be removed will be replaced in kind, as mentioned. And in regards to temporary, I guess I'm not quite clear on what that means for your purposes, but all 8 of the site trees will be removed in order for us to complete our operations.
I'll answer.
Ficus tree in question is.
I'll answer the temporary part for you. What was meant by that is, instead of removing and replacing a tree, you're removing a tree just for the purpose of staging, no other purpose. It's a temporary purpose. You're there for a few weeks or a few months to stage and build. So that's the policy that the council office is concerned about, that members of the board have expressed concern about going forward. So if a tree has to be removed for the building of a project, that's one thing. But just for staging alone, that's what raises additional red flags. It's not that we don't grant those permits. We take them on a case-by-case basis, as we do all of the permit requests for trees that land before us. And that was the issue that I think we would prefer hearing from you about. What does it mean for you if the board were to deny the permit as to that 1 tree? the one that's related to the staging, granting the permit removal for the other trees, but the staging tree would stay in place, for lack of a better term, would stay there, and you would have to restage it.
Okay, understood. Thank you for clarifying. I believe there's a misunderstanding in terms of the request at this point then, because all 8 of the trees are being removed. There's nothing special or unique about that, the ficus in question. It would fall under the same classification as the other 7. So I hope that hopefully assuages your concerns. It's the same as the others. It's simply a 2-year construction cycle, and the trees line the parkway, which is the only area that we have available to us for our working. And so that particular ficus tree I would classify as no different than the other ones that are being requested. It's not a temporary removal for a few weeks or anything different. It's all 8 trees are being removed because that's the only area that's been granted to us for our construction purposes. Does that help clarify the fact that
what
it's
about
no different? Or
do you want to ask?
Yeah. So I'm not sure where that language came from.
We've got another question.
I don't believe it was reflected that way in our application to Street Services, but I did want to clarify to hopefully represent how important it is for us. We can't build the project with the trees where they are. It's that simple. We're going 84 feet up in the air.
Mr. McCullough, that's not the question we're asking about the other trees. We're just about this one tree. Commissioner Caloza, go ahead.
This question is for Streets LA, for Hector, and I don't know if this is a question specifically for you. Maybe somebody else on your team is better able to answer this, but if the issue is not having a staging area to move forward with construction, given that we're in special circumstances right now with less traffic, and looking at the photo of where this is, it seems like it is a wide enough road, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but is there another workaround this to avoid getting rid of this one tree and create another staging area for them on the street, perhaps? Is that something that is a possible option?
Can I speak to that?
We're waiting for Mr. Banuelos on that, sir. We'll come to you in a moment.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Fernando,
sure, surely.
Yeah, we looked at that, but I really don't, I mean, I'm not a developer, I guess, and so that question, I mean, we questioned it as well, but I do know that it's a rather tall building at 8 stories, and so with the crane apparatus and all the concrete pumping and all that, there may be times where the trees may impede, the canopy of the tree may impede upon the access or safe access of hoisting materials and also placement of the concrete pumps.
So it sounds like a BOE question. Yeah. It might be an engineering question. Mr. Jordan, before we go to the applicant, on that question, I recognize that's not Mr. Banuelos' job description per se. Is that a question that BOE would need to answer?
Well, they would probably have more expertise in that question, but I would say it sounds like we're talking about just using the streets, the roadway, as a staging area. And maybe we could do that because there's less traffic now. But I don't know, that goes into the other project approvals. Was that closure contemplated in the EIR? The removal of the tree was already contemplated in the EIR, so we're able to make that 15162 finding. If we're talking about something different, we'd have to go back and look at whether we could make a 15162 determination to see whether this new way of doing it was properly evaluated in the EIR. Removal of the tree, the project was. Anything other than that might not necessarily have that.
Okay, Mr. McCullough, would you go ahead and respond, sir? One moment, we're going to unmute you. The floor is yours, Mr.
Yes,
McCullough.
of course. Thank you for raising those questions and concerns. We've been working diligently with the council's office since November of last year on the traffic control program. And that traffic control document, as it currently stands, was provided in the package of information I sent across last week, locating the two trees in question. And unfortunately, we're required to maintain two-way traffic on the northern balance of DeLongpre Avenue. And based on DOT requirements, we've essentially garnered as much available real estate as we could, while also providing pedestrian access and the two-way traffic that DOT and the council office had requested of us. And so what I've tried to express is that we've been reduced to an available work area, and I really want to emphasize that tree is not any different than the other ones that you guys are comfortable with. It's just, we literally cannot drive equipment through the site because we need to drive on the sidewalk, and those trees are essentially in the way. So if it's one or all 8, they're all conflicting with the traffic control program that's been dictated to us by the council and by DOT. So we are really trying to clarify that tree number 8, the large ficus, the easternmost ficus, it's not a temporary removal, it's a 2-year removal because we would not be able to access and build our project. So I really want to try and get everybody's mindset on that fact that the tree removal is not a temporary condition, it's a long-term replacement.
So we have an interesting situation right now, everybody. In our normal meetings, I can grab Ted Jordan by the arm and we can go over in the corner and I can ask him the legal question that I have privately. But I can't do that right now because we're in a virtual meeting. Mr. Jordan, I'd like to just take a 3-minute recess to, I've got a legal question for you that I can't ask you in this public arena. So I'm going to call you on the cell phone, okay?
Certainly. And I'll have my audio muted here, so it will not be transmitted into the room.
Okay, all right. Yeah, okay, one moment.
For those of you listening in through the audio line, we are taking just a 2 to 3 minute break at this time. This is Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. We're taking a 2 to 3 minute break.
Ready? Okay, can everybody hear me again? Mr. Jordan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Villegas, you can hear me? And Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Davis. Okay, so Mr. Jordan, I have a question for you. Does it appear, and let's just confirm that we have Mr. McCullough on the line still. Dr. Campos, Mr. McCullough, can you hear us, sir?
Yes, still here.
Okay, great, thank you. Mr. Jordan, does the applicant here have, based on your review and analysis, everything they need to build their project but for this one tree removal item?
Yes. So based on as near as I can tell, this is the last sort of discretionary approval that they need. Now, there'll undoubtedly be other permits and things that come up, A permits, things of that nature, as they, do the work within the right of way. So things that will be coming back from Public Works. But those are not typically viewed as discretionary approvals in the same way that trees are. But this appears to be the one and only holdup from a Public Works or otherwise discretionary approval. The record is fairly detailed in terms of the prior approvals they've gotten through the planning process, putting the adoption of the EIR and the Area Planning Commission's public hearing and approval. So I think this is it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Banuelos, can I go to you, sir?
Okay, I'm sorry, what was the question?
Question. I just want to confirm on the record, Streets LA, Urban Forestry Division, has made a recommendation that we grant this tree removal permit for all 8 of these trees, correct?
I believe there are 6 trees.
6. Okay, I've got, 2 and 4. It's 6. Yeah. I was looking at 6 and 2. It's 2 Indian laurel fig trees and 4 American sweet gum trees.
That's correct.
Okay. Including this tree that we're talking about that's in the way of the staging, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Thank you, sir. So, Commissioner Davis, you wanted me to come back to you to see if you had any questions. No questions, Commissioner Davis?
He's on mute. Let me unmute.
One moment, Commissioner Davis. 1 second.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go. Commissioner Davis, you're online. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I thought I heard the developer say that they did not have any opportunity to design the project in a way in which could preserve those trees. Is that right? That tree, that singular tree. I think that was what the issue was being raised. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President?
Well, that's true, although we'll let him speak for himself. Given the limited space he had there, that was my understanding. Mr. McCullough?
Am I muted?
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. Did you hear the question?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I did. And so through the entitlement process, the driveways were determined and dictated by our DOT provisions. The one remaining tree that seems to be the bugaboo is really, it has to do with a lot of different things, but the primary driver for the need to remove that last tree in question is the traffic control program. We have to not only protect the public, but we have to do it within the constraints of what the City Council has laid in front of us. And as such, we have a very tight window of space in which to work. Hundreds of deliveries, incoming and outgoing material, and that particular tree happens to be right at the exit point of the small footprint of work area that we've been afforded. And so I recognize it's a tree and it's important, and I don't want to be the evil developer that comes in and tears down all the trees. I wouldn't if I didn't need to. It is just paramount to the success of the project and from a safety perspective as well. So we don't think the tree would survive our B permit improvements and our shoring installation. And I've tried my best to outline all the rationale behind our request. So I hope you guys can recognize that and support our application.
And what is the replacement in this particular project? Is it a 4-to-1 or what's?
No, we're constrained. We have only so much street frontage, and so with the spacing requirements between BSL and the urban forestry through street services, we maximized our tree well locations, but I believe we're coming up with 7 or 8 new tree conditions in the tree wells as forecasted in our B permit application.
It's a 2-to-1, Commissioner Davis. They're not protected trees.
Got it. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Colleagues, I would, Mr. McCullough, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yes. Please.
I guess it's for you and Mr. Benuelos, because I think we're also utilizing the tree replacement guarantee fee. Would you be willing, given the concern, and Mr. Jordan, you too, Mr. Jordan, am I able to ask for a 4-to-1 mitigation here? Let me ask Mr. Jordan first.
Well, the 2-to-1 is really what the board's policy is. I'm not comfortable saying yes. I'd have to, if you really want an answer on that, I'd have to research it. So right now, I'm just going to say probably not.
So what I would do, thank you, Mr. Jordan, what I would propose would be, let me start with street services and Streets LA. Colleagues, we have been talking now for almost a year and a half, it's certainly over a year, about how really good Streets LA has been in saving trees in circumstances just like this. As a matter of fact, Streets LA has now come to us a number of times with the recommendation that we deny tree removal applications. And their creative methods for saving trees has gotten, frankly, a fair amount of press and respect and admiration around the environmental advocacy community in the city as of late. I only mention that because for this one tree, I think street services, they come into this room with more credibility than they have in prior years, frankly, on recommending a removal in a circumstance like this. So I give the fact that they're recommending the removal, knowing that it's a staging issue. I think it's important. Secondly, we work really hard to, in the time I've been here, to listen carefully to obviously our elected officials. And I understand that the council office, when asked, it was not something that was in the original record, but we did follow up. When asked about it, indicated their concern about the removal of the tree for the staging purpose, which is the same issue that Commissioner Garcia has raised. And I hear it, and I completely understand it. I'm approaching my motion from purely a legal standpoint and an issue related to our taxpayer, which is not always ideally the best approach, but I think it's the most practical approach given what we're facing with this project, and not always our approach that fits like I think it does now. Mr. Jordan told us a moment ago that this applicant, as far as he can tell, has everything they need to move forward with their project except for this tree removal, this one discretionary tree removal item. And we're talking now about one tree in staging. And the tree was contemplated, the removal of the tree was contemplated in the environmental document, through which, by the way, we don't have any challenges for. We have not gotten a challenge on that. Not to the environmental document itself. So my concern here is that if we don't grant this tree removal permit, and the reason I'm going to, and I know that Commissioner Garcia, and she's going to have all the time she wants to oppose it, but my concern is that if we do not grant this tree removal permit for this one tree, and we force or eliminate their ability to stage and build this project based on this one tree, I feel like we're going to be in another hearing on this, and it's a hearing that we could force our bureau, our city attorney's office, to try and settle it. And I've settled lots of cases in my years, as every lawyer has, and I just feel like the settlement's going to end up with a tree removal. Now, we can force that if we don't want to be the ones to grant the permit, but if we force that, it takes up a lot of time, costs these builders that build projects, it costs them jobs and money, and it costs our taxpayers money too. And so I feel like given the fact that they have everything that they need to build this project, the tree is going to be removed now or a few months from now. And it seems to be more practical, more prudent to face the fact that we have to remove it now. And that's based on a legal ground. So based on that, I make a motion that we grant agenda item number 5 as recommended by Streets LA.
Can I do have a question for the developer though.
Yes, Commissioner Garcia and
Thank you, sorry.
Mr.
This is
McCullough.
Commissioner Garcia. And that's fine. Like I said at the very beginning, this might go through, and I agree, that's fine, because I know how the process works. But for the record, I still object to this. So for the record, we might have to do this. So one thing is, to the developer, what will happen to that area after you leave, after 2.5 years, or whatever is the time period you have, that area that you're staging and removing a tree, what are the plans for that? Will you just abandon it?
I'm not sure if I'm still muted.
No, you go ahead, Mr. McCullough. We can hear you.
Okay. Excellent. No, that's a great question. We do have a current B permit application in that includes a redevelopment of all the existing curb and gutter and sidewalk, as well as the tree wells. My understanding is, and perhaps Mr. Benuelos can speak to this better, but upon installation of the trees and acceptance by urban forestry, those trees are then maintained by Public Works and not by the private developer, since it's in the parkway. So I can't attest to the long-term ramifications or the livelihood of that tree that will be replaced, but I understand, we will get it to the point where it's accepted and it's viable and it's a new growing species, but I don't believe that we as the private developer maintain that in the long term.
So Hector, maybe you can answer that. What are the plans, or what is it going to look like after they have left and taken their equipment? Are they going to leave an empty space without a tree?
No, ma'am. No. That's what I was trying to say. Is we are developing and replacing all the sidewalk, and as well as replanting new trees. I just don't know, after our purposes, who takes ownership of the tree.
Yeah, let me step in on this, Commissioner Garcia. So the developer will go in and we'll put in the replacement trees and put everything back in place. Mr. McCullough's point is, after 2 or 3 years, Mr. Benuelos can tell us whatever the time is, then because it's a parkway tree, then it's maintained by BSS.
Got it, understood.
Hector, is that 2 or 3 years?
Well, there are minimum 3 years. However, I believe right here on this project, I think there is a BR on this one, a revocable permit, I think, in progress. And so if it's revocable, then they're probably going to be performing some work within the right-of-way that is non-standard. And most of the BR permits that I see are now revocable via there's irrigation, there's landscaping, and other amenities within the right-of-way that is required to be maintained by the owners of the property. And that runs with the land. It's similar to covenant agreements. And so in a lot of cases I see of these developments, most of the landscaping is tied in with the land, and it's in the owner's best interest to keep it up and to keep everything alive and thriving.
Is that the same owners, Hector? Would those be the same owners of the project and that land that's going to be left?
I'm not sure what the long-term goal is of the developer, if they plan on selling after they construct. I really don't know that, but the revocables run with the land.
Can I step in on that real quick? Commissioner Garcia, if they sell the property, the requirement, if they sell it before BSS takes it over, the requirement to maintain it goes with the sale. You can't sell the property and abandon that.
Got it. Okay, well, given, obviously we need to come to a close to this. Given my understanding, I know that this board is the steward of trees. And so therefore I felt that this was something that we need to put this into perspective, because I don't want us as the Department of Public Works to start getting a little careless about the trees that we approve to remove when they're in good condition, especially for something temporary. So I all too agree with City 13's email that said that this is not good policy. And so I just want to make sure that as we move forward, we're not agreeing to just remove trees just because. And like you said it very nicely, President James, BSS has done a great job. Ever since I've come in, I've noticed their transition of how much now they care for, not they've always have, but how now it's been a very highlight of what they do is that they are saving trees. And so I want to make sure that we continue with that policy and that care attitude we have to saving trees.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Completely understand. Thank you for your advocacy on this as well. So my motion was seconded by Commissioner Caloza. We'll do a roll call vote, since I anticipate a no vote from at least Commissioner Garcia, which we welcome always, from anybody. Commissioner Villegas, yes.
I apologize for interrupting.
Sorry.
Thank you, President James. I noticed that our city attorney just said that our tree ordinance doesn't allow us to do any additional, either like amendments or wiggle room. It doesn't allow that cushion for us to suggest additional, trees in lieu of the vote that we're going to take. And I just wanted to ask if we could indeed get just clarification for the future.
Certainly, I can clarify that. I didn't say we couldn't. I just said I'd have to look at that. So if you wanted an answer right now, I'd say probably not. What I did do in the last minute is go back and look at the board report that is actually before you. And you'll see in the board report that the developer in this case is actually planting all of the trees that it can physically plant in the right-of-way. And the staff is asking the board to concur in its determination that the replacement trees that are required under the 2-to-1, some of them can't feasibly go there. So the developer is actually paying the in lieu fee. So in light of the fact that the developer is paying the in lieu fee, I think it would be potentially more troublesome to increase the tree replacement ratio, since it's just going to be the in lieu fee, and the trees aren't even going to be located at the site.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, which I apologize for making this arduous and taking a little bit more time. But since we are on this topic, I'm just going to ask, sometimes we have these types of situations where a developer is not able to plant all the trees in that specific site, but they still plant trees in other locations. Is that any different than paying the fee, or what's the difference here?
Well, I can't speak to the situations where they plant them on other sites. We adopted the in lieu fee because of the historical difficulties we've had in dealing with developers giving us trees. So now that we actually are collecting the in lieu fee, I don't know to what extent the Bureau is having developers go find other locations. I suppose it still may be doing that, but really the point of collecting the in lieu fee is to have that be the means by which the 2-to-1 replacement ratio is met, not by necessarily finding other locations. The problem with if we just willy-nilly have a developer find other locations is, when the council adopted the in lieu fee, it also reserved for itself, the city council, the role in choosing where those replacement trees go. So
that's helpful. I appreciate it.
It's a little outside of what we're doing here. Yeah.
My apologies. I really appreciate that, Ted. You're really thorough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Commissioner, and Ted, I hear you on the issue of when there's an in lieu fee. I know that in prior occasions, we've been able to get additional mitigation of going 4-to-1 when we can put in the trees, but I recognize your desire to get back to us whenever the in lieu fee is applicable. I think that's helpful. We may not have that success today on this item, but we can use it in the future. Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you, President James. Definitely want to agree with your recommendation, and thanks for your thoughtful analysis and how carefully we are considering this item and this one tree removal. I did just want to add, for the record, I know it was mentioned in past hearings, but just wanted to reiterate again that the city is going to get something positive out of approving this and moving forward. We are getting more housing. And that is something that I think I don't want to lose sight of in the midst of the other conversations happen, which I think are incredibly important. But, there's going to be 185 units of housing added as a result of this. And I know and also trust Streets LA's recommendation on this, knowing that this site is landlocked and that there is no other way, from what it sounds like here, to move forward than to proceed with this tree removal. And I know it's super tough for the board to make this kind of determination, but I think just looking at the length and the breadth of the conversation here today, that it's not something we take lightly by any means. And so with that, I just second President James's motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza. So we'll go through our roll call vote. Commissioner, it's my motion, seconded by Commissioner Caloza. Commissioner Villegas, yes or no on this? You want me to come back to you?
Come back to me.
Commissioner Davis, yes or no on this?
I'm going to give my answer, but I do want to give a brief statement that I realize that the board, at least some of the members, would love to see us be able to be flexible in many cases to save trees sometimes. And today, we had a lot of items that involve trees, and none of the items were we able to embrace the possibility of saving a tree. And on some tough days like today, that makes it very difficult. And yet we do realize that our urban forestry staff have moved forward in the best ways, given the facts that have been presented to them to make these decisions. And we want, as Commissioner Caloza has said, to make sure that we have housing in our environment, because it's critically important given all of the social problems we have, from homelessness to making sure that workforce housing is available. I would just simply like to conclude that it is important for us to have a discussion with council in the future about some of the regulations as it relates to tree removal and as it relates to our policies, because I've heard it mentioned in our deliberations today by our developers who have been working with us to develop the housing that we need. And one of the things that has been mentioned today is the regulations. They are working within the regulations that they have been given. So our discussions in the future around a policy of trees and the badly needed construction that we must have is a discussion as board members we should be able to have in an educational way with our policymakers. To that end, I support the motion, and I do also recognize the frustration that my colleagues have and the limitations that they perceive that we have in terms of making a difference, that they have a perception about in terms of making a difference on these trees. So anyway, Mr. President, in conclusion, I support the motion, understanding all of the complexities and all of what we have had to deal with today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Garcia, what?
I'm going to be very brief.
I got everybody raising their hands at me. Just a minute. Dr. Campos, you have something you need?
Yes, for Commissioner Davis, can he affirmatively A or nay?
Commissioner Davis was a yay, correct, Commissioner Davis?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
Sure. I just want to clarify, they are not constructing affordable housing. Just making that clear. There's no community benefit that I'm aware of.
Well, nobody said the word affordable. They said the word housing.
Yes, but I'm just making it clear. That's all. And no, it's a nay for me.
Okay. No from Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Viega.
Yay.
Okay. Yes. So 4-1. Agenda item number 5 passes. It's not unanimous, so we don't send it forthwith. What that means is it becomes final, not at the end of today's meeting, but at the end of our next meeting, which is on Friday. So that's when the item, Mr. McCullough, for your purposes, will become final unless it is recalled in the next meeting. That'll be the order. Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Thank you, everyone. A very thoughtful meeting with complicated issues in the virtual setting. It is 1:59 p.m. on May the 5th, 2020. We are adjourned. Have a safe week, and we'll talk to you on Friday.
Thank you. Happy
Cinco de Mayo.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.